This is Your Favorite Character Sucks with John.
Oh, we're rolling. Matt.
And Brandon.
A podcast where we look at characters in our favorite books and decide which is the best. Well, not just books, right? Movies, TV shows.
Any form of media, really, yeah.
Right. How does one determine media? How does one determine what the best character is? Well, with our extensive literary knowledge and a level of confidence possessed only by an American man, we can discover the answer to any question. Before we begin, my conscience would not let me go on without first saying that this podcast has assumed you are familiar with the series being discussed. If you haven't read, listened to, watched, or gone on an acid trip that has revealed to you the plot of the series under discussion, then you should stop listening now until you've read or watched whatever we're talking about. You have been warned. On today's episode of Your Favorite Character Sucks. Now that's what I call scary. 90's edition. Comma, a discussion about Misery, Interview with the Vampire, Candyman, and Scream.
All right.
Yeah, it is. All right, yeah.
So,
Good, let's do this.
All right, we're going to talk about horror.
we can do opening statements, but I do want to say that one thing that's interesting about horror, because everything kind of has like a little wrench gets thrown in. Like we were talking about comics, there's so many iterations of the characters that's kind of weird, right?
Yeah.
Horror, it's like, what is the definition of horror? The broadest sense is like something that scares you, right? Or makes you feel a little unsettled.
I thought we were only doing
Off-put,
scary
unsettled.
movies.
Scary movies, that's
No,
fine.
I meant the scary movie franchise.
Oh, just scary movies,
So
the
there's-
comedy.
There's
the
five
comedy.
of us here. I don't think there's four. Scary
However-
movies, right?
I wouldn't call that a comedy. It's terrifying.
Way more than 4.
However,
Are there?
How many's like 8 scary movies
Yeah.
at this point?
there's a lot, yeah.
Like in the world.
I would say that, like, I don't know, all the movies we picked are very different
They're
within that
super
genre.
different,
Also-
Because I do think that yours can go into horror.
90s
However,
only, right? So you can't
actually, I
even
don't even know. I
You
feel
can't
like
even talk about like the book because the book was written in
No, I'm not
the
going to talk about
70s.
it. I might mention the book, but it's not going to go towards my argument.
Yeah, exactly.
But I think yours is more dark fantasy. But I mean, we can put it in
I think
more.
it's horror.
Slash like drama.
Because I'm not scared of anything that's in that movie.
I would say that
You
there's
should
a
be
lot-
scared of things in that film, though, and here's why.
Okay, we'll start with your character.
Yeah.
Fine. Matt, you can open up then. Opening statement. Who's your character?
Absolutely not. I always go last.
All right, fine.
That's 'cause
or
you
never,
normally don't
or
know
not at
you're
all.
doing
Yeah,
that.
or
Yeah,
not
but
at all.
this time I am prepared. So let the record state that
Yeah.
one, my character's good because he's good, and two,
Wait, noble? Like he's a good character?
Is this the opening statement?
no, but also
This is opening statement. He's making opening statement.
no. I'm just saying. Anyway, I'll go last.
All right. Does anyone want to go first? Does anyone feel like ready to go?
Start with the guess.
Okay. You think start with a guess? That throws them into
I
it.
was gonna let him go first. Why are you
Don't
throwing me
let
under the
the-
bus, sir?
You don't want the
I thought it was
winning character to
give
go
you the,
first.
Give you the privilege.
No, I would like to hear how you present your
Annie
opening statement.
Wilkes. Okay, that's a good idea. Yeah. All right. So, honorable mentions.
Gotta go with honorable mention.
Ash from Evil Dead and the whole Evil Dead franchise. The only reason he's really strong. I love that character. First of all, I think that Evil Dead, the movie by itself, is just one of the best fucking horror films I've ever seen.
The first
terrifying.
one, insanely scary.
I fucking love it. And then it's so bizarre how they remake it and
Almost
just make
the
it funny.
same movie,
Almost the same movie, but funny.
but just hilarious.
Yeah.
and up a lot of the gore in it, which
Yeah.
is amazing.
Very bizarre.
So I think that Ash. So again, I don't want to pick him because I don't want to be the only white dude to pick the white dude
And also,
guy.
let's be honest, like a white dude in a cabin with a bunch of people, and his name is Ashley Williams.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, and I
that's the
think that
whitest
whole
thing I've
cast,
ever heard.
White
that
as-
whole cast is also
Yeah.
white, which is going to be an issue no matter what we talk about from the 80s.
Wait, aren't a lot of us picking white people?
But are we talking 80s or 90s?
We're talking
90s,
90s. We're talking 90s.
Okay.
But I think Evil Dead.
Evil Dead 2 should have been late 80s or
Okay, well, never mind. I
1990.
can't even mention it.
It could have been 1990.
I don't know why I started thinking about him anymore.
That was a terrible
Well, no,
honorable
'cause,
mention.
I mean-
It didn't fit within the constraints of the.
And then
Army of Darkness.
Army of Darkness is definitely 90s.
But also, he's persisted to this day. Anyway, I also don't want to pick him because I don't think he's a well-rounded character either. I don't think he's not super deep or anything like that. He's just funny.
Well, because he's in both of those movies, and they're very different.
Yeah.
It's hard to
Yeah.
like choose.
He's also in the series. There's
unless
a
you
series.
just say
Yeah.
like from the first movie.
Yeah. So that's how opening statements works. I've made an honorable mention. I haven't even made my opening statement
Okay.
yet. My opening statement is Annie Wilkes because I saw Misery whenever I was a young kid, too young to see it because that's how all horror movies work. You see them when you're too young, you're horrified for the rest of your fucking life. Saw Annie Wilkes. My dad encouraged me to watch the scene where he gets hobbled.
Good scene. Good
Fucking
scene.
phenomenal.
Good father.
And, yeah, no, he's a great guy.
Excellent parenting
Well, he
choices.
was a great
Good
guy,
scene,
yeah. And he wasn't even a great guy, so I don't even know what I'm talking. He is a great guy. He was a great guy. He wasn't even a great guy.
Just keep qualifying to say he was a guy.
So, Misery, Annie Wilkes, fucking terrifying. I based it off of, like, which character unsettles me the most. And for me, some of the movies are spooky. Like, some movies scare me and some concepts scare me. But for me, she is what fucking terrifies me. The character herself. Like, I don't care where I'm at. I could be in any setting, anytime, whatever. That character terrifies me. And I do like the movie in general, and I'll talk about that. But Annie Wilkes, for all the reasons I just listed. Unpredictable, fucking horrifying.
From what I remember of that film, the main character reminds me of the dude from Jaws.
James Caan?
Are they different people?
They're different people.
Oh, okay.
They are both
Oh, you're saying...
old, leathery-skinned white men
They
who
kind
look
of
very similar.
I'm just in appearance only, and also maybe even in someone like.
I'll talk more about Misery in a minute, but I'll let
See, for
somebody
me,
else
I
go.
was like, when I saw Misery, I was like, James Caan. Wait, isn't that the guy from Elf?
He is?
That was the only reason I
Oh
knew
my
him at that
God.
time. Why did I
had
know
seen him in
about Elf
Misery.
before I knew
I had seen him in
Misery?
Misery
Wait,
before.
yeah.
Yeah,
We're talking about Elf,
How did you live
Elf
so
with,
long
Will
without
Ferrell.
seeing
The Will Ferrell
Misery?
film.
He's his dad.
I'm sure that I saw it.
I didn't see
but-
Misery until I was in like college.
No,
I showed you.
I feel like
I saw it with
I
my
brought it
mom
to
when I was way
California.
too young.
Oh, yeah.
theaters?
Like, no, not in theaters,
Oh.
but at the house. Like, and it was terrifying. Like,
Misery's scary.
yeah.
Oh,
And
yeah.
thinking back on it, also Killer Clowns from Outer Space was like terrifying for me when I watched
Really?
it, and then I rewatched
obsessed
it.
Isn't that movie corny?
Really,
Like,
it is
She
so
just rewatched
hilarious.
it and realized that it's not at all
but
terrible.
you were horrified.
I
as
was
a kid.
horrified, and I never wanted
You were
to
a
watch
kid.
it again. Yeah.
As a child, to a
Yeah.
I
child's
mean,
brain.
the clowns
Yeah.
look horrifying. They
Yeah,
look
and then they like pied this one guy, and he melts, and I'm
Yeah.
like,
I should...
not cool.
We should maybe start a tradition of introducing the guests. I mean, you know, that might be a good idea.
Probably.
So this is... What do you want to... We'll only do first names. Ceci, Cecilia, what do you want
Ceci, Cecilia, whatever.
Okay.
It's fine.
Ceci, whatever. And then Lou, over
it's not
here.
Lewis. It's not- it's
Luis. Lewis.
Uses government.
Lewis is
Lewis.
very important because I have a lot of jokes set up.
Ah,
for Lewis.
real good ones too.
The only reason he chose.
Okay,
his
so who's
character.
going next? Who's going to do their opening statement?
I can do
Guests. Okay, Lewis.
So I'm doing Ghostface from the Scream franchise.
Wu-Tang Clan.
Oh, can I change? Is it too late?
Yeah.
Damn, he's
Is that-
terrifying.
is that-
He's terrifying. If I'm
Okay,
being honest.
that's-
Was
true.
he featured in any films, or I guess it's not just film? Like,
Most likely, there's
I'm
got to
sure
be a
he
Wu-Tang
was.
movie.
At least, and how high?
There's so many Wu-Tang people. They've got to be
Yeah.
in a movie somewhere.
Yeah. So I'm doing Ghostface from the Scream franchise, which the reason that I chose Ghostface is because
Very 90s.
very 90s, definitely a staple of 90s horror, still iconic to this day, and he's very universal. It's not one set character. There's so many different people who
Don't
don-
spoil it. No, I'm kidding. You can. Yeah.
who
Your whole
don-
argument now.
Yeah.
Up front, I will say, you know, if you haven't seen Scream, Misery, Candyman, or Interview with the Vampire, then you should not listen. I'll say that.
Oh, I haven't seen Candyman. I'm gonna have to exit.
No.
Yeah. All right,
You gotta
so
stay. You gotta stay.
But
you give us a second to watch Candyman real fast.
We'll be right back.
Also, it's like 30 years old at this point, so what are you doing?
Is it
But-
the-
me and Bran
Yeah, it was
actually
just-
92.
we just watched it 2 days
like,
ago,
yeah,
and that's
first
what
time.
made well, not for the first time, but neither of us remembered it at all.
Yeah,
and
I
that's
remember
what
being-
made him.
Okay, well,
decide
we'll
do
get to him in a minute. Yeah, that character also fucking terrified me when I was a kid. But anyway, go ahead.
But so yeah, just the fact that like there's so many different people. It's the fact that you can't nail him down to one person is pretty terrifying to me. And then yeah, the fact that he's iconic. Those are the two biggest reasons.
I'm gonna go next because I'm also doing a Scream character,
Which is
but,
great. Oh, I don't
yeah.
want to undercut you. But it's just so crazy because there's so many good horror films. Y'all both picked a character from Scream.
Okay,
Anyway, go
but
ahead.
I am obsessed with Scream. Like
That's
I
her
watch
favorite
it.
horror
No,
movie?
I want y'all to pick the most passionate things
Yeah.
and do it. Go for it.
So I picked Randy from Scream, and I have my reasons.
Who's
but I'm,
Randy?
Randy is that sub character
'Cause
that's like
I've seen Scream like once.
okay, he's in all like he's in the first 3 movies, and he's like the nerdy friend.
Wait, he's in the first 3
Wait a minute.
movies?
He's
Is
in the
he-
first 3
what
movies.
actor plays
this
him?
is
Is
what
it-
you forget.
Jamie Kennedy.
Yeah.
Which
Jamie Kennedy, right?
can I just say real fast that
It's not Matthew Lillard. That's what I was
No.
wondering. Yeah.
One thing that I thought was hilarious, I was like, man, we have Academy Award nominee Kathy Bates. We have Golden Globe nominee Brad Pitt. And then we have the incomparable Jamie Kennedy.
Jamie Kennedy.
Obviously.
I was already talking to Lou about how I thought he was a budget Seth Green earlier.
Yeah, he was
Like,
like,
are these guys the same person?
yeah, he was like, is that Seth Green? I was like, no, that's Jamie Kennedy. And he was like,
Yeah.
wait, what? And I was like, that's who Cecilia is going to talk about.
Yeah.
He
Yeah.
X'd like everyone on that set. Yeah.
I have to talk about
That was the show. Okay.
the reason why I love the Scream franchise is because for some reason, like, okay, I love horror, but it's kind of comforting to me. I love slashers in particular because they are, I don't know, it's weird.
I do not, but yeah, go ahead.
like something about people being murdered. But I did like they bring him back
You
in the
live
third
vicariously.
movie. Yeah, you forget that he's in the third movie because he's only in one scene and he's in a videotape. Like he just comes back in a videotape
from like the second one.
Yeah, and it's ridiculous. He's like, if I was murdered, then you're watching this.
Oh shit.
And yeah, so
That's kinda cool.
I love that character because he breaks the fourth wall and then he like gives you the
Wait, is
entire
he-
movie format.
Okay,
of,
yeah.
like what's gonna happen
He's the
play
character-
by
The first
play.
instance of like that.
Yeah.
That's the first I remember
He's
of
the
like the
character
meta type of thing.
that like shows the rules, like talks about
Exactly.
the rules in
Exactly,
the first one.
yeah.
Okay, so he's the voice of Wes Craven.
Yeah,
kind
so
of.
it just like
In the
first of all,
shit
that
movie.
movie was supposed to be kind of comedic anyway, but
Yes.
it was so terrifying to
Yeah.
everyone. He's that break of comedy that
Yeah.
was meant to be, I guess, how people were supposed to perceive it.
Yeah, and this is what I was going to talk about when I was going to talk about like basic horror, like it's trying to scare you, right? But then if a good horror film needs to have other layers to it, like
Yeah,
either
I
be
agree.
funny at moments or like I think yours gets into more like intellectual territory and like
The problem
cultural.
with Scream is like
Nothing.
the worst thing that can do that Ghostface can do to you is just kill you, which I'm fine with.
Yeah.
Like if he kills me, then I'm just dead. Like
Yeah.
who gives a shit? So
and
like,
you know how you're gonna die. It's
yeah,
like
exactly.
stabbing.
You're gonna get stabbed. Like yeah, it'll suck for a little bit, but like
Stabbing hurts.
oh, I'm sure. And he never like really just full on like he always stabs them in like the guts, so you like really just die. Like, so, but that's fine
Yeah.
because the worst thing that can happen to you in Scream is you just die. That's why I guess I've never gotten into like those particular types of films.
Also, why
'Cause you're
weren't
Hindu
more
or
people
what?
saved?
Huh?
Did you believe in like,
They are, like-
infinite lives?
Is that an Asian person joke?
Yeah, it wasn't until now, but yeah.
Yeah, but now it is.
So you're saying why, like, if you did just suffer a stabbing, why did more people not live?
Yeah, like why weren't there
Yeah.
more survivors in Scream? Like,
Yeah, they all bled out very
well, yeah.
quickly.
yeah.
Because they would get stabbed in the gut, but they'd still die instantly. But
Yeah.
realistically, I think you die very slowly over like
It'd
20,
take
30
like
minutes.
days.
Days? I think it's like
Nah, not days.
20, 30
You bleed
minutes.
out pretty. If
Uh,
you get
the-
some
if
If
neck
you
cut
get like an
once,
vital
artery,
organs.
I know
yeah.
the guys. Some of them get cut in the neck, right?
Someone stabbed me in the gut real quick. Let's figure it out.
Yeah,
fast.
let's time this.
See how quickly-
Let's see how quickly he dies.
Oh,
We'll
maybe
put this out in your honor.
I thought you were about to segue into your character. Are you going to let Bran go first? Or
Oh, I go last.
well, because your character, that would have been a perfect segue because you're
Oh,
like,
of course.
you know,
Yeah.
the worst thing that can
I
happen
want
is
an
that.
imperfect segue.
Okay, go ahead, Bran.
All right. Were you even done, or did we just kind of move away?
No.
No, I thought that was a pretty good opening
There's
statement.
a lot of points that I made.
And we're gonna get back to
Don't
it.
The
allow
whole
yourself to be
episode,
bulldozed at
the
all.
whole episode could be me just talking about Scream.
We're gonna get back to it. Yeah,
So
Okay, just saying we get off
Well,
topic. So
yeah.
40% of this
back.
episode should be about Scream.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, okay, I see.
it,
Yeah.
it should
Yeah.
be.
God dang.
2020.
So that's
Yeah, exactly.
20 minutes.
But if you go by like contemporary American distribution of wealth,
All right. So,
Then-
anyways, I'm gonna be doing Helen
there is it.
from the hit '90s movie Candyman. Two main reasons. One, it's the most recent horror movie I've watched. Simple as
You
that.
got a short memory.
Simple as that.
like a fucking goldfish.
Unlike Lou and Ceci, I'm not like
That goldfish, like the
a
sailor
devout
scares
horror
me.
fan, so I just gotta stick with what I most recently watched.
Yeah.
Secondly, I feel like I really understand this character as a grad student who has not completed her thesis.
God damn. Too
So-
hardcore.
Okay.
So,
Oh my
I can
God.
kind of understand her motivations to...
So you're saying you would go into like previous crime scenes to finish your thesis,
well,
right?
I understand,
Yeah.
but I admire her because...
You would not do
She'll
that.
Yeah,
let-
she actually puts in
She
the work to
actually,
get
yeah,
it
puts in the
done.
work.
You have to put in a lot less effort
Yeah.
and still won't.
Yeah,
You don't
exactly.
have to risk your life to finish your thesis.
But to
Exactly.
be fair, a lot less interesting of a topic.
Yeah.
True. If
You're
your
not
thesis
setting
was
Candyman.
on Urban Legends, yeah, you can knock that out no problem.
For the record,
Exactly.
and all the viewers, his thesis was on the Aleutian
Migratory?
goose.
Oh, okay.
Right? Yeah,
The
just
Aleutian goose.
the Canadian Aleutian goose.
Yeah, and they're specifically when they migrated to Northern California.
So actually, the
Jesus Christ.
exact same thesis as Helen from Candyman.
It's actually
Yeah,
very similar. yeah, just as
if
scary.
you think about the similarities, it's actually kind of
So
Think
you
about
relate
the way it
to-
affects the environment.
So
it's
you
honestly
relate to
just as
Helen.
spooky.
You relate to Helen.
exactly. So, yeah, and I guess I'll get more into it later. But I think the connection between her and Candyman is very interesting.
I think so. It's a very different connection between like a victim and a killer in a movie.
Yeah, for
It's
sure.
not. It's not. I feel like I've not seen anything like that. Like
In fact,
Well, you've seen Candyman.
I don't
Shut
think
the
she. There are some issues with this theory, but I'm actually going to argue that she is Candyman. She's the one doing the killing.
Yeah, that's an issue that could be.
And so that's why I think it's especially.
I feel like my knowledge of Candyman, like for the amount of distance between me having viewed Candyman and having this conversation, is not sufficient to chime in at any point. So
yeah, here you are.
Which is why I'm covering a character
But I'm
that
still
I just
going
saw
to.
2 days ago.
No, our confidence exceeds our ability.
Our abilities, our skills, our talents. Yeah.
And I will say this episode is a little more difficult because we're covering 4 different movies instead of just
That's what I was
one.
going to say is like, again, back to what I was saying about the defining the genre is like, we're almost like going with horror that's on different sides of the spectrum too.
Yeah.
So we'll have to figure out which one's the best.
And contrary to the title of this cast, according to John, the main character of Misery is actually the best character.
Yeah. What does that mean?
Yeah, wait,
I'm
what?
just saying.
Yeah. Your favorite character sucks. Mine is
But everyone's
best.
favorite character is Annie Wilkes.
Annie Wilkes.
Yeah.
Oh shit! So your favorite character sucks. If it's Annie Wilkes, then that means she sucks. So you're defeating me with the logic of the title of the podcast.
Yeah,
Okay,
so
I got you.
basically...
So I just got
John's
jujitsu'd. I just got
John's
judoed.
already done.
I just got judoed out of the thing.
So
Okay.
basically what I'm saying is I'm trying to reallocate
He's been working on that for 2 weeks.
the speaking time. So now we're going to go 50% Scream, 25%
dang.
So I've increased everybody's equity here.
What about the top 1%? Because you said it was American distribution.
Oh, shit. Well, we need 100 people on the cast. then.
1%? Anyway.
All right. Well, I think the cast could probably do without the Bernie impressions. We were also talking about Andrew Yang because it always comes up when you talk about Bernie.
Who's your character?
Yeah, go into your character, please.
You're the
Anyway,
only one left.
Speaking about people who you can relate to, in a lot of ways, I can relate to not only Brad Pitt, but his character, Lewis from Interview. And the
What's
thing
his
is,
full
like,
name, by the way? Because you said it, and I didn't know his
He
last
He
name.
Googled that.
That's why I said
I
that wasn't
literally
that
had
wasn't
that.
He didn't
helpful at
paste
all.
that
it's
from
like
Google.
Louis DuPont Dulac or something like that.
I have also read the book, by the way. So I'm snooping.
Yeah, but so we're not talking about the
Snooty.
book because
So
it's,
this guy
not
over
within
They
here-
didn't mention the last name in the book?
No, they do. I don't remember it.
Yeah, it's such
Blah,
like.
blah, 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 blah,
Also,
blah.
Okay, that's offensive to
Yeah.
him.
It's all,
blah,
it's
blah.
all
But also, I was
really-
gonna say if he's French, wouldn't it be Louis?
Yeah, it
Yeah.
probably would, but how do they pronounce? No, because
No,
whenever-
100%.
I can make
Louis
fun
in the
of-
film.
They
I
always
can-
call him
Yes.
Louis, yeah.
It's not Lewis.
It's,
Okay, well then Louis.
I can make fun of.
Well, in that case,
So your whole,
French
your
accents.
Oh,
90% of his argument
Okay,
was
so-
because it was Louis and Lewis. So that you got to pick a new character.
95% of my content just went down the drain. but I'll have you know that he's a good character for other reasons, and I can still relate to him.
Oh, he's a great character. Yeah, go ahead.
I want to know how
Because
you relate.
I'm not going to roast anybody's character.
Oh,
I
How
love
you
everyone's
relate to
character.
Brad Pitt?
Much like
Wait,
Brad
the
Pitt.
character or just Brad Pitt?
He
himself?
said both.
Louis.
Yeah, both
We'll
of them
start
are like
with Louis,
both like insanely attractive dudes. Like really into like
Louis and Brad Pitt.
art and literature. Yeah, I'm talking about the three of us.
Ah,
like, a lot of way like like the Three Musketeers, except like one of us is fictional, one of us is unlike the two others.
Yeah, Brad Pitt's definitely not real.
Yeah,
There's no way.
Wait,
There's no way Brad Pitt's real.
Those
Have you
abs
seen
don't
his
like
abs
you
on
too.
Troy?
Yeah, exactly.
that
the movie
is for
Troy.
you. To,
No way,
that's
that's
for you to
Those
figure
abs do not human.
So the point I'm
Fight
trying to
Club?
make is,
He's literally not real in Fight Club.
yeah, no, he is literally.
Spoiler alert.
Well, not Brad Pitt.
that's
Yeah.
a different episode.
Yeah, Brad Pitt isn't in Fight
I
Club.
might have to cut that spoiler out.
So the point is, Brad Pitt isn't in Fight Club.
Yeah, okay.
You know what I'm saying?
That's true.
So we're like going full circle
That's
on
true.
the head game thing.
All right, so interview.
Interview.
With the vampire.
Yes.
Because some people might not know.
Oh, true. But then if you're listening to this,
Yeah, you should know. Yeah.
I think that because you said it's not really like a traditional horror film.
No. It's
But-
like dark fantasy, but...
It is dark fantasy, and there are aspects of horror, I guess, because it has vampires, but also it's like intellectual horror because
Yeah.
a lot of the things that are like addressed in the interview are like the existential nature of like
yeah.
vampires and even like humans, and when those two things like cross together, and that's the thing I actually relate to because it's like I feel like you're like at the beginning he's like too cowardly to like kill himself, but he's looking for
Right.
another way out, and
Right.
so I feel that on a very very deep level. So, you know what I'm saying? So like in a lot of ways you're just
You want to
like
be a vampire.
no, because then you look at what happens when he becomes a vampire and you realize that it's like so much worse.
this episode is very quickly going to devolve into just a counseling
Yeah.
session where we try
Yeah.
to
This was
talk
the-
Matt
this
off the
was-
ledge.
No, I
This was
said
the
it
intervention.
When
earlier.
I walk
This
in
is
the door.
intervention for Matt.
Yeah,
Yeah.
this is an intervention. I heard it
Yikes.
as soon as I walked in the door.
So yeah, lots of awesome characters from Interview.
Yeah, Lestat is
but
the...
Louis,
I
yeah.
do like Lestat a lot.
Lestat is the guy... Well,
Lestat's good also.
The second... Interview with the Vampire book is all about Lestat, and
But we
it's
can't
all,
talk about the books.
That's fine. That's fine. I'm just mentioning it offhand. It's a very good book, and it's really cool. It gets into a lot of the history and stuff like that. But anyway, Lestat is
read. Okay.
Lestat.
Yeah, ooh, it must be nice to be able to.
Those Anne Rice books are really good, and actually the movie is a very, very close. It's a very good
The
adaptation.
movie's good.
The movie's a great. But I'm saying it's a good adaptation of the book as well. But Lestat makes him a vampire. A little bit against his will. He's not
It's
really.
like out of
It's not against his
yeah.
will.
Well,
in the
Lestat is not a good
because he
vampire.
agrees to it.
Yeah,
but
but-
it's like if you're inebriated, like can
Yeah.
you really like fully consent?
Right.
But does a vampire even care?
Well, they
is
do.
it like the duty of a
They do.
vampire to care about this or something?
Lestat should not be doing that. Other vampires are a lot less cavalier. Like Lestat is doing this shit, and then he also makes Kirsten Dunst's character a vampire for Louis, which other vampires would
forgot
also
she
not
was
do.
in that film
and it's
until I
also
rewatched it.
It's also arguably really fucked up. And I mean, Kirsten
Oh,
Dunst
no,
makes
it's messed up
she
for
makes
sure.
the point. She's like, I'm trapped in a fucking 13-year-old's body, and
No,
I'm
it's
100
terrifying.
years old
Yeah.
now. And it sucks for her. But yeah, the scariest part of that movie, because now we'll get into the general discussion now. Scariest part of that movie for me is not even like the vampires doing stuff. It's, well, I guess they are doing this, but like whenever Kirsten Dunst and the woman that becomes like his de facto, well, not even his wife, Kirsten Dunst makes him make
The caretaker.
make
Yeah,
a
I don't know the
mom.
character's name, but yeah.
So a mom for Kirsten Dunst.
Yeah.
And when they
Not
get
for Kirsten Dunst, for the character.
when the vampires in
Kirsten Dunst has a mother,
yeah, that's true.
so
She does.
I just
I don't
don't.
know
I
her
didn't
name
know
either.
that.
A mother
so
who
let's keep
thrust her
going.
into a vampire movie at the age of 13. So
But it did her good
yeah, I guess so.
because then she got the Spider-Man bit,
Yeah.
leading to Spider-Man 3.
Before Spider-Man, she was in a lot of good stuff.
Bring it
Kirsten
on.
Dunst has a lot of iconic roles.
I was just gonna say also before we moved on, because you were talking about like how it's not just a horror film. I almost see Interview with the Vampire as like a tragedy. I mean, there's a
It's
lot
a
of
very
like,
tragic story.
There's a
Yeah.
lot of elements in there. No, it sucks.
But yeah, whenever Kirsten Dunst and that woman get put into that thing by the other vampires and the sun
sun's
burns
coming
them,
through, yeah.
that is fucking horror. It's
No, it's-
it's sad
well, it's
and
like
it's horrifying.
it's
It's,
sad.
fucked up. Yeah. But yeah, I'm not gonna say in the book anymore. Yeah.
Can I just say a shout out to What We Do in the Shadows?
Yeah.
What we
That
do-
Oh,
show.
yes. So good.
They also do
They
that.
parodied.
Yeah, that tunnel bit, and they just put an umbrella over it. Dope. And also, one of the characters talks about how he turned a baby into a vampire, and everybody's just like, "That's the most fucked up thing you can do. What are you talking about?" He's like, "I thought it would be funny."
This is John here. Just wanted to say thank you to everyone who's listened to these first few episodes of Your Favorite Character Sucks. Hopefully by now you've started following us at Your Favorite Character Sucks on Twitter and Instagram. Maybe you even subscribed, rated, liked, and reviewed the podcast wherever you listen to it. But there's one other way that you could help us spread the podcast that hasn't existed since brick and mortar video rental stores, and that's word of mouth. Tell your friends about us. Let them know. Here at Your Favorite Character Sucks, we try to do a variety of episodes. Coming soon, we're going to have a Game of Thrones episode. Who doesn't like Game of Thrones? Except for the last few episodes. We'll have more horror like this one. We plan on doing Lord of the Rings and much more. So please, once again, spread the word, let people know, and join us at Your Favorite Character Sucks on Instagram and Twitter, where you can let us know what show, series, movie, book you want us to do next. Because I'll tell you right now, we are running out of ideas. Alright, back to the show.
Annie Wilkes is, I think, a great character, besides being horrifying.
Have
and
we
I think,
moved on to the next phase?
yeah. We've all introduced our
Or did
characters.
you have more opening statement?
Oh, absolutely not. I'm just curious as to why
Well,
John
just
felt
like
the need to
Annie
take hold of
Wilkes,
the conversation.
just like Annie Wilkes, I'm bipolar, and I don't know. I have mood swings. I have mood
and,
swings. Yeah,
willing to hobble people to prevent them from...
exactly. So
I don't know if you guys know this, but the four of us are in fact hobbled right now.
Yeah.
just to be,
It's the only
just to,
reason I agree.
we wanted to
John's
get into it.
forcing us to make
Oh
this
God, I've
podcast.
changed you all up. Like that's the other thing about it. So okay, so all the different genres of horror, right? We got dark fantasy. That's where it's coming from. This, you don't even see like real blood and gore or anything. Almost the entire movie until like the last 20 minutes or so. It's a fucking terrifying movie because you just don't know what she's capable of, and also it's this crippling fear of being crippled. Of he's injured. And that's the cool thing is like, okay, there's monsters and there's a mythology and there's like a mysterious murderer, right? Annie Wilkes is powerful only because James Caan is weak and injured. And it's just such a terrifying situation to be,
Well, she's also like physically powerful.
whenever you, because like I've broken an ankle before and I couldn't play basketball, and you literally feel demoralized and you feel worthless and stuff like that whenever you can't go do something. And it's like just being stuck in a bed while somebody who is not really a powerful person necessarily, but has power over you, it's fucking horrifying to think about. It's just so terrifying. but also she's a great character because she's a good character. Like when he goes and like finds information about her news clippings that she like before had maybe had miscarriages and then purposefully was killing like babies because she's a nurse, right?
Oh, it unravels very slowly.
And it apparently is a drug addict, like using the drugs from her access to drugs like on James Caan, but also on herself. Like that character has a lot of depth to it. She's fucking nuts. But also has like some reasons behind like why she would want to take care of somebody, why she would be a caretaker because she like lost children in the past or whatever. And then the biggest fan thing, I think it's so perfect because it has stayed, it has only grown in relevance, I feel like, since that movie came out. Because like shortly after that, Silence of the Lambs, which by the way, shout out Silence of the Lambs, Hannibal Lecter, nobody did Hannibal Lecter.
Honorable mention.
But that's a pretty cool character. He doesn't scare me so much as I just think he's very interesting and cool. Like I'm never like terrified of him. The scariest part of that movie, I guess, is like Buffalo Bill in the dark.
Yeah, it's cool because
right?
he's not even like the main villain necessarily.
No. He creeps you out, and he's like a mastermind. But I'm not scared of him.
That always tripped me out actually because whenever I finally saw Silence of the Lambs, I always assumed that Hannibal Lecter was the villain, and that was the entire point of the movie. And then when it starts out with Buffalo Bill, I was like, who the fuck is this guy?
Yeah.
And then like as it unravels, I was like, he's in a cell the whole time.
Yeah.
He can't even do anything. Why are we scared of him?
So many quotable Buffalo Bill lines. Literally everything Buffalo Bill says in that movie is quotable. Like, I'd fuck me. Would you?
Oh,
fuck
yeah.
me? I'd fuck me.
100%.
It puts the lotion in the basket.
Yeah.
Not 100% is it quotable. 100% would I fuck him.
Oh, okay. Is she a great big fat person? Like,
Oh, God, that one always made me so uncomfortable.
It's so good, man.
Also, that
we
song,
only put this couch in my van. Like, it's just so creepy.
I don't like that dude's voice.
And we're not supposed to like make points to support your character, right?
I was gonna say
Well,
I have some stuff to say about
like, I
Annie.
want to switch.
It's not a competition.
We all have our own.
No, I said we
okay.
support. We
Yeah,
support.
we hype everyone else. up.
When Brandon surprised me with Draco Malfoy in the first Harry Potter, I pushed Draco Malfoy. I
Unless
was like,
your
hell yeah,
character is
Draco
shit,
Malfoy was
then
dope.
it will not be
And when
supported.
who did you do? It was Dolores Umbridge.
Yeah.
We were all like, fuck Dolores Umbridge. Like we were like, yeah,
Yeah.
she's a fucking like. We were all
that
getting.
character
So yeah,
does
if you
suck.
like another character, and I like
Yeah.
all of these, so yeah, I'm gonna
Like
do some
for
up.
a terrifying character because that
Wilkes?
really that's such a terrifying character
Yeah.
because it causes so much like psychological anxiety and
Yes.
like that's what horror should do. So
I also
kudos, that's a great character.
Going back to the like depth of her character, I also love how she's got this like moral code, and it's Stephen King, because Stephen King, it's him taking the critics, the fans who are critics, and like, you should be less dirty in your work, whatever. And so like it's like, okay, what if this person was so moral like you, but also a killer? You know what I mean? Like, she's so against him cussing. She's so against like anything too risque happening. But then she's willing to hobble this dude so he'll write his novel. It's fucking horrifying.
It's basically Stephen King's worst nightmare.
It's a wolf in sheep's clothing. It's a wolf in sheep's clothing, and that's terrifying. Yeah.
The two things that I love most about her is just it's like the ultimate portrayal of obsession. I mean, the obsession that she has for him is terrifying.
Yeah.
And it just shows how far she goes. And also, just like that.
She's like a spider too. That like he fell into her trap. I feel like she's isolated herself after making all those murders when she was younger, and then she was like, "Oh my god!" Or did she move out there because she knows that he writes out there? You know what I mean?
I don't think so.
You know what I'm saying?
I think she happened to be out there. Like,
I think that's just
Dude,
where she lives.
when she burns his fucking manuscript, horrifying. That's the most terrifying thing I've ever seen. No joke. Like, imagine
all of that hard work.
No, imagine writing 300 pages of work and then somebody lighting a match to it. And James Caan plays it so well. You can see the look in his face. It's so fucking painful. It really is. Because like I can tell you right now, like whenever the floods were happening a couple weeks ago, and I was imagining like my computer getting flooded and me losing all of the writing that I've done, I seriously was getting depressed just thinking about it because it's such an amount of work. Fucked up, dude. When lighting on fire is so fucked up.
The other thing is like how quickly, because you mentioned she was bipolar, and just how quickly she snaps in that movie. Kathy Bates, holy crap.
Kathy Bates won an Oscar. She should have. Yeah.
She did. She won an Academy Award for that one. And I mean the way that she snaps like that, like she can like the emotion
Apparently-
drains from her face.
Apparently, she cried on set a lot. Like she had a trouble playing the character because she didn't like the violent parts. Like after doing the hobbling scene, she cried. They said because she was like it was just too much to take on that role. And also, like, her and James Caan did not get along. So, like, the animosity came from a very real place. Like, it did. I mean, that's what
Really?
I read.
Why?
James Caan and her have completely different acting styles is what I was reading.
What does that mean?
And she comes from more of a theater background, and she wanted to rehearse, and he did not want to rehearse. He felt like you do it. You embody the character, and then you do it. and she was complaining to Rob Reiner about it and like getting upset. Rob Reiner.
Holy
directed it.
shit! Rob Reiner directed
Rob Reiner
that
directed
film.
it, which is it's his only
Rob Reiner does so many different movies
He does
that
a lot
are
of different
weird
movies.
as hell.
Yeah. When Harry Met Sally and Misery.
He did Stand By Me.
similar-
Stand by Me, which is Stephen
Kind of the
King.
same story.
Stephen
Harry
King
Met
wanted
Sally.
he wanted
Very
Rob
similar.
Reiner, and by the way, the reason Rob Reiner directed the film, it was going to be another director, but the other director wanted to keep the hobbling scene in the book the same as in the movie. The hobbling scene in the book, she takes an axe and she cuts off his foot, not both. She cuts off a foot because that's what hobbling actually was.
Yeah.
People that would steal from the mines to punish them, they'd cut their feet off, and then they would make them like, now you're going to be in a sitting thing, like loading stuff instead of.
That is terrifying.
Yeah. So the first director wanted to keep that. He wanted to stay true to the book, but other people didn't want to. Like I think Kathy Bates and other people didn't really want to do the axe thing, and so he left the project. And Rob Reiner did it, and he found a way to do it without the axe.
Well, I think the way that they did it,
Yeah, it was
even
more
scarier.
fair. Yeah, more
especially
fair.
because, like you
Fucking
said,
sledgehammer, God,
and just
damn.
like you said, there's really no blood up until the end of that movie, and even in the
Yes.
hobbling scene,
Oh, man.
there's no blood. You just
No.
see
I'm
his
sorry.
foot literally.
We will go
bend.
on to the other characters, but man, when the cop shows up, the cop that they set up to be such an awesome character the whole movie, he shows up and just fucking blasted
gets
from behind.
blasted. That's
It's so
so
heart
Yeah,
wrenching.
Rip. That guy was he was one of the best
my
characters for
God.
sure. And yeah, when that happens,
then
it's
There's
like
only like three
Whoa.
characters.
The other
in
thing
whole
about that
film.
is the movie has this like steady fucking horror the whole time of just like, what is she gonna do? Finally, the sledgehammer thing happens. That's crazy. Big spike. The guy gets shot. Big spike. And then the last fight scene between her and James Caan, she gets like bludgeoned in the head with a
Yeah.
fucking typewriter, and then like a paperweight thing like in the face. She is messed up and like still. It's horrifying. He gouges her eyes out, and it's pretty graphic.
I think that that's the opposite of what you say. She is in fact physically shown.
Yeah.
No human can
Well,
take
but
that.
he still had lame legs at that point. He still wasn't able to walk. He was like crawling around. Even at
Yeah,
that
but
point.
even still, I think that
No, she was a bull. She was a bull. Even
She's
yeah.
a beefy-
She's just very powerful.
she's a beefy lady for sure.
And also, you were telling me I think about Castle Rock, how this second season
Yeah.
is going to be all about her. And I looked at some scenes of what's her name,
Lizzie Kaplan
Lizzie Kaplan playing her.
does a good job.
Pretty good.
Does
There's
a
a
good
scene.
job.
There's a scene they show where like the light hits her eyes, and she's doing this like wide-eyed thing, and it looks just like Kathy Bates with the wide-eyed expression.
Wait, what are you guys talking about?
Lizzie
Castle
Kaplan
Rock.
on Castle Rock, which is like the
What's
Stephen
Castle
King universe, a television show that's like Stephen King universe.
On
She's
Hulu.
playing a young Annie Wilkes.
And in that one, they give her the backstory of actually having a child.
yeah, they give her a
who,
different
like,
backstory. Yeah,
Is there a
passes away
name
or
for the
something.
Stephen King universe?
it's Castle Rock. You know why they call it Castle Rock? Because Castle Rock is Rob Reiner's film company, and Stephen King trusted his movies with Rob Reiner's film company. I think
Is that true?
Castle Rock is the name of Rob Reiner's film company, so I think so.
This just seems like idle
Again,
speculation. Yeah,
Rob
what if-
Reiner is.
But he gave him Stand By Me, and he gave him Misery, and he didn't want to give anybody Misery except for Rob Reiner. So, but anyway, let's talk about other characters.
And
now.
it worked out.
It worked. It was fucking good.
I'm gonna change my character to the snow in Misery.
The snow.
Okay.
The snow is the bad guy. The
When
snow,
he
the snow
like
initially
first
injures him.
crashes and he's like kind of imprisoned, yeah, pretty terrifying.
Just sets off the whole chain of
The
events.
snow is
so-
basically
Also-
the Mary and Pippin of.
Also, all right, sorry. Last
That's a
word.
throwback.
Last word. She is the only. The other thing that's horrifying about her is she is his only connection to the outside world, and she's a fucking liar. Okay, I mean, just think about that psychologically, because that's almost like the Plato's cave kind of thing of like, I'm getting information, but I can't trust it. Like I don't know what's real. That's horrifying.
Yeah.
You don't know what's real, and you're just immediately assuming that she's being honest at first, and then you slowly start to realize, oh my god, this bitch is fucking lying from the get-go. It's so painful. It's
I
so
don't want us to
crippling.
cuss when we talk about Annie
And
Wilkes.
okay, I won't cuss.
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh god.
It's just very
Dirty bird. You dirty bird.
Yeah.
Cockadoodie. She says cockadoodie.
Just a really good film. overall.
She makes non-cuss words terrifying.
Yeah, for sure.
When she says something's cockadoodie, I'm like, oh god, she's gonna fucking kill someone.
Yeah.
All right. Anyway.
Should we move on to Scream?
Yeah. Let's do Scream.
Let's do Scream.
So we're on
Okay.
our 51st minute now.
I'll talk about Ghostface first, I guess.
Yes.
Because I'm definitely gonna have more to say about Randy also afterwards.
I feel like I don't have this much to say about Randy.
Oh.
But go
It's
on.
fine. It's fine.
What are you talking about? Jamie character didn't bring enough depth to that? I don't-
Yeah, I'm like,
Jamie Kennedy, I'm sorry.
yeah, I was just like,
I don't think depth
Not
is
on the
everything.
same level
Yeah.
as
Sure.
Kathy Bates.
My character has depth, but ain't no one. I was talking about this in the message. Ain't no one dressing up as fucking Annie Wilkes today. You know what I'm saying? Like, and I'm not saying Jamie Kennedy is, but
I
No
dress up
one-
as Jamie Kennedy every weekend.
okay.
That's just my aesthetic.
What I'm saying, and that's what I'm saying about the types of horrors. Like mine is like psychological and all that stuff, and you expect a deep character in that, right? But a meta comical horror you want a meta comical character, and your character is that.
And
So,
somebody who moves along the plot, definitely.
yeah.
Yeah.
So basically, let's just talk about
Let's talk about
him
him.
right
No,
now.
talk about Ghostface. Yeah.
Yeah, so basically he's the one who made the whole movie, and like they bring him back in the third movie, and then
Is
even
the
the
third movie
fourth.
90s?
2000.
Isn't the third movie the worst
yeah.
one? I've heard
Cut
The
it out.
third one is the worst one.
I actually love. Okay, I love all of them. I don't like the second one as much.
From what
because
I was
don't
reading
like
today,
the boyfriend's
first and
face.
Actually, you know what? The boyfriend's like Jerry O'Connell?
Yeah, I don't like his face.
Just his
His
Jerry
face.
O'Connell is
face.
fucking
I
beautiful.
Yeah, what's
fucking
wrong with
hate his
you?
face, and he
I'm looking
ruins
up
the
Jerry
whole
O'Connell.
movie for me. Okay.
Okay.
So the
I
second
will say,
one,
actually, the
High
third one is
standards.
considered, like, by critics to be the worst one.
Jerry, what?
Jerry O'Connell.
But by
He's from
audience.
Stand By Me. He's the fat kid from Stand By Me.
But how much meta can you get when you're in a movie set about the movie that you're
Yeah.
in? Like,
Well, but also,
There's always another
The second
rule.
one
Jerry O'Connell
is the least-
Sliders.
Sliders.
Yeah, it wasn't Jerry O'Connell in Sliders. Yeah, 1995 to 2000.
I don't know what
It's a
Sliders
sci-fi.
is.
It's a sci-fi series. I'll talk about it later.
Slider sounds like it should be like an American baseball film.
yeah, that's how
Picturing a
Sliders-
movie about a food truck that
Sliders-
makes small
They
hamburgers.
just
Food trucks back in the 90s?
Oh, yeah, true.
They get a remote, and when you push the buttons, it takes you to a different dimension. And then it gets broken, and then they keep pushing buttons, and it takes them to random dimensions. They're trying to get back to our dimension.
Save it for
Yeah,
the
not
sci-fi.
interested.
Also, they
Sci-fi,
had
yeah.
food trucks in the 90s. They just weren't as trendy.
It wasn't hit.
True.
You'd
true.
get like a hot dog.
True.
Oh yeah, and
had
if you
like
go
a
to New
hot dog
York,
cart.
yeah, New York is like hot dog.
Or
carts.
tacos,
don't
like,
believe
yeah, some
that's
kind of
true.
ethnic food.
No,
I saw
Definitely.
I don't believe that's the case.
Oliver and
Definitely,
Company.
I
There's a
definitely
hot
ate out of
dog
trucks
guy.
in the 90s.
Yeah, there's especially in New York. There was like
If someone can
halal food
produce
trucks and
one shred or iota of evidence right at this moment, then I'll believe you. But
I'll look up-
otherwise,
I'll
you
look
guys
up
got
a-
5
We'll get
seconds.
into
A New York
okay.
movie. A New York
Alright, that's
movie.
done.
And we'll find it. Okay.
Wait,
I will
okay,
never, I
so-
will never
so-
believe in food trucks before
It's good.
the
Yeah,
2000s.
they're like unicorns. Yeah.
So
Unicorns are
Jamie
real, though, that's the
Kennedy. What's his
difference.
name?
yeah, I keep forgetting his actual name because all I'm
Uh,
thinking of is Jamie Kennedy.
Shit, Randy. Yeah, I was like,
Randy.
you stumped me.
So
This character's
let
already
me
on his
just
way
also
down.
because I definitely want to. I'll want to talk about him also because you went straight to the third movie where he's in the. He's in like a videotape.
Are you mansplaining Randy to her right now?
Yeah, right?
It's actually kind of messed up.
Look,
I'm sorry, why do you know the movie Scream?
Wait,
Is it because your older sister? Oh yeah, also this is
Oh,
my
now
little
some
brother.
more relations
So-
are unfolding.
Okay,
like you didn't know that they were related
Yeah.
before.
They are related.
Little
guys.
bits
Sorry.
and pieces
We've
coming
got our
out here.
own drama.
We got our own
Yeah.
horror psychological
all
thriller
right,
going
all right. So Cecilia was saying that she didn't have a lot of arguments present, so I was trying to help her out.
No, please
But
listen.
no,
Please
you sink out there, you bitch.
Keep going, keep going. Make my point
Language,
for me, okay?
Man, you dirty bird.
Dirty bird.
No, I mean in the first movie, he establishes the rules for horror in general.
Yeah.
Which is amazing because
Is that the video store scene? Are they like in the video store?
there's a video store scene,
I
but
think they're in a house, right?
Yeah, there's a video store scene at first, and then they're also in the
We're
house
talking
at the big
Matthew
party.
Lillard.
What is a
like
video
throughout,
store?
Actually, throughout
Oh, also
What is the
something
Blockbuster?
that
there
only
like
used to be a
exists now
thing
before the
called
2000s.
Blockbuster.
Well,
It was
listen,
like
when they
Netflix,
failed.
but it was
Food
like
trucks.
hard copies.
hard copies.
Is it like food trucks?
They're like food trucks.
Brand said there's only enough space in the world for either food trucks or video
It was
stores.
when video stores failed that food trucks could then become.
They're like Transformers that converted to food trucks.
So every blockbuster that died out there
Became a food
rest in
truck.
peace.
Yeah,
You're now on some hipster like Korean fusion like burger food truck. I'm sorry, you did not die for that. I still have my blockbuster
I
card.
can do two things. I can rewind VHS tapes, or I can make a mean fucking fusion taco.
yeah, kimchi fries or some
Yeah,
shit.
yeah. All right.
Oh, kimchi fries are worth it.
Yeah,
I
yeah,
give up
worth
on
The
that.
death of
Obviously.
Blockbuster obviously was worth kimchi
Justified.
fries.
So Randy defines horror.
Yeah, so
In a movie that's
oh God,
horror.
I forgot.
You were talking about the house party scene.
Oh, yeah,
which is
so-
when he really establishes it.
Well, like throughout the whole thing, he's kind of like giving little bits, but yeah. But I forgot my whole point that I
Yeah, I
was
think at the
making.
beginning,
He goes-
it's there in a classroom, right? And he's like talking about it, right?
That's in the
Yeah.
second one.
Oh, it's in the second
That's in the
one.
second
Yeah,
one,
that's in the second one.
In the first one, he in the movie scene, or I'm sorry, the movie
The house
store
party.
scene, he talks about how Billy is definitely the killer, and he explains his his logic behind it. But in the house party scene, they're watching the original Halloween,
Yeah.
and he uses that as an example as to why the rules apply and how they apply.
Wes Craven didn't
Yeah.
make Halloween, right? Well, it's,
No, that was John Carpenter.
That was the point I was trying to make. Like, you know, slashers were so big in the 80s, and then that was a way to revamp it for the 90s. And, like, that character paid like homage to like this is the format that we're following. We are doing this now.
Yeah,
you know,
well, and
like
breaking it.
this is what's happening next. And even though you know what's coming, you're still on edge because you're like, is that what's gonna happen?
Well, you don't trust
is
it.
Billy the killer?
It's
like,
smart because it's like another fucking slasher film. You know, it's probably the thought process by people going to see that movie, and then they push it at you like, you know, you think it's gonna be another slasher film, but we're gonna point it out. It is gonna be another slasher film, but because they point it out, you start to doubt whether or not. Like you're like,
you don't know if you should expect what's coming next because it's like
he
so
muddies
formulated.
the waters. He muddies the waters.
True.
Yeah.
And like you said,
so-
it was intended to be a spoof. It wasn't even intended to be like
lot of
It was
full-on
supposed
horror
to be
film.
scary movie, but everyone
Yeah.
was
You know,
terrified.
yeah, that's what I was gonna say. A scary movie. By the way, there wouldn't be any scary movies that weren't for Scream because the
Yeah.
first scary movie
Exactly.
is pretty much Scream
It
with
is,
other
yeah.
things added
Yeah,
to it.
exactly.
Yeah.
And again,
And so we can probably say that Scream is. We should not have Scream because we
Yeah,
should not have
because
scary
we don't
movies
need
either.
scary movies.
We did not need any scary
we
movies.
just actually disproved our own. We just ruined our characters.
Because I would say out of like 7 scary movies, there's like 5 good jokes or good bits.
I'm
like
just saying
maybe.
this logic is getting very circular.
Blockbuster.
The longer
gave
we
birth-
talk, the
We're
more
proving all of our characters wrong.
Yeah.
Except for mine,
Blockbuster
but,
gave
yeah.
birth to food trucks. Thank God. But Scream gave birth to Scary Movie, and we've never been the same.
Okay,
Yeah.
well, you have to just opt out, okay?
Yeah.
Like, no one makes you guys watch Scary Movie. If you did it to yourself, you did it to yourself.
In the 1990s, Scream blew the doors off the horror genre by taking a meta approach at the slasher film. It didn't take itself too seriously and yet was still satisfyingly scary. If you loved Wes Craven's fourth wall breaking Scream series, then you're going to love his new podcast, where Wes Craven and other stars act out a slasher thriller. Wes Craven has promised that 74% of the podcast is dedicated to horror referencing fourth wall breaking dialogue, while the other 26% is just the sound effect of knives penetrating flesh. What's more meta than a director and actor referencing his movies in a podcast about horror about movies that are about horror? Well, just look behind you? What was that? No. No, don't. No, Wes, please, no. I get what you're doing, but I don't think the audience will.
Just
is released,
so that you know, for Candyman, Jordan Peele is actually he's not going to direct it,
Oh, he's
but
gonna do
his
another Candyman?
they're remaking Candyman.
Oh, no way.
And it's going to be with Monkey Paw, which is his production company.
Yeah. I know.
You know who is going to be the star though? Not Candyman, but who's going to star as
The victim or whatever.
It's Lakeith Stanfield.
Oh,
He's going to play the guy from Atlanta.
the guy from Atlanta who was in
in Get Out. He was
Get
the
Out.
one that gets kidnapped first.
He's our example of a black dude who's gotten his mind.
Oh, he
taken
was
over.
in Not... What's that other one? Not to Bother You or whatever?
Yeah,
Sorry
to Bother You,
Sorry
yeah.
to Bother You.
So let's
He's,
talk about Candyman.
Wait, we're not.
Oh, wait,
no,
did
we're
you
not
want to
gonna
go to Scream?
Scream.
Yeah, we're still... Are we doing Scream in
Yeah, it's
order?
cool. It's cool.
All right, let's talk about Annie Wilkson.
I'm gonna go ahead. I'm just gonna go ahead.
Let's keep going.
Yeah. So right back around.
to get that ratio, we'd have to talk about all these characters for like 30 minutes each because we talked about Annie Wilkes for so long. But anyway, go ahead.
No,
Well-
Ghostface.
I guess I don't really have.
We're not even
much
gonna talk
more.
about Randy.
No, I think Randy's... I mean, he's not a super in-depth character.
You gotta stand up for
But
your
he is
boy.
No. Yeah.
I think he's the Wes Craven of that movie, though.
Yeah.
He is.
He's
Yeah.
the, he's the meta
It's fucked up.
comedic character of
Yeah.
And honestly,
a meta comedic. scary movie.
nobody's death in Scream affected me that much, except for Randy's. When
Yeah,
Randy dies, it was
yeah.
like
He dies.
Spoilers.
literally how we started this. We said that when he's in the third movie in the video
he's
If
tape.
I'm in this
dead.
tape, I've been killed.
Oh, so they found the tape. I understand. I guess
Yeah.
my brain didn't make the connection.
Oh.
His
yeah,
like
yeah.
random ass sister comes in, like
Yeah, that
they're like,
that
oh,
girl,
this is his sister. I'm like, what? Was she in? I had to go back and watch.
Never
it. Like, was she
mentioned.
in?
Never
like,
mentioned.
Did they ever talk
No.
about her?
He gets dragged into a van because he's on the phone with the killer and he's taunting him to
Yeah.
try to like save his friends.
And he's out in public,
Yeah.
like no
Oh.
way that he would be murdered because he's in the middle of this park.
No, of course he'll be murdered because he gets ripped, he gets pulled into a van and gets stabbed to death, but nobody can hear him because some young ethnics are walking by with a boombox dancing, and the boombox drowns out his death.
When you
Yeah.
say ethnics,
Yeah, I was about to say.
let's make it very clear. What are we saying here? Because you're ethnic and I'm certainly ethnic. So you're saying
Yeah.
Well, I know
I'm
John
at
was-
least 1/14th Cherokee, I think.
14th. I don't even know how that.
Yeah.
It's very interesting.
Oh, and then you just see all the blood come out of the
Yeah.
bottom. Yeah,
It's
it
just,
was,
like,
it was
dripping out
so
of the
sad. Yeah.
Very, very, very good.
I
stuff.
don't love slasher films, but I will say
Sleepaway Camp.
Scream is a good. Well, Sleepaway Camp's hilarious. It's stupid, scary.
It's terrified.
Yeah, that,
I was
that
terrified
one
at the
made
end.
me physically ill.
But anyway, we're just gotta say that for our 70s
That was the
episode.
most horrific
Is that
ending
70s?
scene I've ever seen.
Or
80s?
60s. That's maybe 80s.
70.
Late
no,
70s,
no,
early 80s.
Early 80s, yeah.
Okay.
Mission accomplished.
Yeah. Anyway, though, but as far as like structure of a film, I know we're talking about characters, but the Scream is very well structured because it opens up and gives you basically a thesis for the movie because the guy is calling Drew Barrymore and explaining, like talking about scary movies and stuff like that. So it really gets you set for what the movie's going to be. So it does have an iconic
Which
opening
is scary.
scene.
Oh,
Well,
it's such
and
an
that's-
iconic series. Yeah.
Yeah.
That's what I wanted to talk about was
Yeah, Ghostface.
first thing for Ghostface is
That
that
mask is
opening
fucking
scene.
everywhere too, though.
That opening scene is one of the most vicious, hardcore attacks that I've seen in a horror movie.
Yeah?
Because he not
I don't
only
even remember the attack. I just remember the whole dance that they do.
So not only does he does the whole, what's your favorite scary movie, which is also iconic at this point.
What's your name?
He murders her
I
boyfriend.
want to know
out.
what to call the person I'm looking at or something like that.
Yeah, he like very slowly unravels the fact. It's almost like it's a little nod to
There's been
When
movies.
a Stranger Calls.
Yes.
And he's like, letting her know slowly that he's in the house, and then you see her boyfriend outside. The lights
Yeah,
on
how
the
did her
patio.
boyfriend get outside? If
He
he's inside or whatever.
No, he wasn't with her.
He wasn't inside the house.
Yeah,
he wasn't.
She didn't know he was there.
He was outside, and he kidnaps her boyfriend.
Yeah.
The lights are on out on the patio, and he gives her the chance to answer
So
questions
he's like
about
he's
horror
on the
movies.
phone in the corner, and then he comes out and like guts the guy, and then comes back in the corner on the phone again.
Well, let's
Is that
not
what he's
question
doing?
logistics here, okay?
Yeah.
Alright.
Suspend your disbelief. Okay?
Yeah, come on,
He's
man.
very fast.
But here's what's terrifying. Okay, two things. With the boyfriend, the lights are on on the patio, then they go off, and when they come back on, his guts are hanging out.
Yeah.
Very graphic. Then, for her, he gets her outside. He stabs her.
Yeah.
She is on the phone, and her parents, because it's the 90s.
How
and
does
they
the
have
phone
lines.
stay in her hand? I remember that.
She
too.
was running out of the house with the
No,
phone
I know,
in her
but
hand
after
because
he
she's
stabs her,
terrified.
she's dead. and
Also,
he's carrying her
imagine
away.
owning a
No,
corpse.
that's
She's not-
that's
she's not-
why it's
she's not
terrifying. Wait,
completely
let me
dead.
finish.
Yeah,
Let me
sorry.
finish.
Yeah. Okay.
She gets she's running
Do you wanna
and he
finish?
comes up he comes up behind her and stabs her.
From
and
behind?
then from behind, yeah,
Oh,
as
God.
behind he stabs her like,
Like reaches
in the
around and
yeah.
stabs. Oh god.
Pretty
Yeah.
dangerous.
And then
Big-ass guy.
she gets dragged while she's still alive, clutching the phone. Her parents get home
Yeah.
and hear her on the phone line, and they hear her dying.
Oh man.
And on top of that, she is within like 15 feet of her parents.
they don't even
but
know that.
he choked her out and broke
Yeah.
her windpipe,
Yes.
so she can't get her parents' help. So
Yeah,
she
that's
is
scary.
dying on the phone, and then what he does to finish it off is he guts her and hangs her from the tree. So when her parents do find her, they see her in the front yard hanging from a tree
Yeah,
with her guts hanging out.
So
I
like,
guess
how
that's
did
why I like-
fucking brutal.
That's why I like Andy Wilkes. I don't know if I love the brutality. I don't know if I care.
It's-
for that.
brutality is
but
good.
How did
but-
people not
You-
get
you
that
like
that was
that?
supposed to be a spoof? Like, how
God,
did they
yeah.
not get the comedy
was that-
behind that?
that was
Like,
hilarious.
it
A
wasn't
hilarious
obvious.
moment.
It wasn't like
no, but that's the
It's
thing is that
15 like seconds away from their child. And they
the
can't
whole
even-
movie doesn't have that level of brutality to it.
Yeah.
It's that opening
It's a
scene to
pretty
just
yeah, it's
No,
big.
that one
It's
scene at
big.
the end with at the end where they like
Where
reveal
the
who
credits
they
are
and they're
rolling?
just stabbing each other. That part's pretty messed up.
it's gnarly,
Well, no,
but
no,
it's
no.
nowhere near that.
That
funny.
part-
Really?
you don't get all the
Yeah.
guts and everything hanging
That
out
part
except
where-
for in
Yeah,
that
it's
one
bloody.
scene.
Where all that white font is like rolling up the black screen. The very end of the movie.
Yeah, that part.
The credits rolling.
All right, I'm gonna go ahead and walk out. Okay, and then my other argument for
I think
Ghostface.
that was an argument for Randy and how much comedy he brought to
That
it.
part where they say the FBI will fine you $200,000 if you copy the movie.
Okay, that was
That's
pretty
fucking terrifying.
Yeah.
Can you imagine?
You wouldn't download.
That's like
a
almost as
car.
much as my student debt. Like, it's crazy.
But no, the other thing that I love about Ghostface is that it's always a different person.
Yeah,
it's
okay,
never
that's interesting, too.
There's only out of the 4 movies, only one movie has a single killer.
Well,
the
and-
other movies have multiple killers.
What's smart about that is that you can do a franchise with it because I really don't. I know we'll talk about Jason and all those other ones later.
Freddy.
But I really don't like those movies that just keep recycling the same person and it's like he's resurrected now. Oh, he's
And they
now
never
he's his mom.
really give
Now he's this,
reasons.
and it's like it's so lame. Like
Yeah.
But I like that. You
People
set it
like
up at
that,
the beginning that it's multiple people and then you can. The killer is like a what's the guy from Princess Bride? Another Rob Reiner film.
That was the one that I was trying to
The
think.
dread,
Yes.
the dread pirate Roberts.
Roberts.
He
It's
can be
just whoever
whoever.
it is, yeah.
It's whoever it is. That's really good. So yeah, Rob Reiner. Princess Bride, When Harry Met Sally, fucking Misery.
Well, out of all those, Princess Bride is the best.
Oh yeah,
And the most
that's
terrifying.
another.
Misery?
Those swamp rats.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No,
What's
the thing
crazy
about
is they're
Misery
actually
is-
those are tentpole movies though in a lot of like horror, romantic comedies and fantasy. I mean,
Misery
yeah,
is
that's
like
pretty
only
cool.
enjoy.
Damn, is Rob
everybody
Reiner the
can't-
best director of our lifetime?
Did this
Very
episode
good.
just change?
Yeah. Rob Reiner.
Rob
yeah.
Reiner films, exactly.
This is
So I
actually-
will-
Your favorite director sucks. Yeah.
I was gonna say this is actually no longer a podcast about movies. It's a podcast dedicated strictly to Rob Reiner.
Yeah.
100 episodes.
Today we're
just to Rob
covering The
Reiner.
Princess Bride.
The Rob Reiner whiners. That's who we are.
No, but
Jesus Christ.
for sure, Princess Bride is the best out of those three.
Yeah, I love that movie
Yes.
so much.
It's very campy. Man.
Well, it's not even that. It's just that like anybody can enjoy Princess Bride.
It's very quotable.
And everyone
very
does.
Very quotable.
Yeah.
Everybody does.
All right.
So relevant.
Well, so the other thing about Ghostface is that he can be multiple people, and the like motivations for every time, it's always a new person, and every time the motivations are just very fucked up. That movie has
Yeah.
so
What
much
is
like.
the motivation of the guy? Oh, his dad like cheated or something like that.
That's what I'm saying. Is that
Yeah.
there's
His dad
so
had
much
an affair?
subtext about
He's
everything.
just a fucking like privileged white dude who's like, I'm gonna go fucking kill some
Literally,
people.
okay. So
yeah, I think it's something like that. Which is
There's-
It's a movie for our time, honestly. He's an incel.
that's what I'm trying to say.
Oh, I'm sorry. man.
Yeah, so,
but he's not
so
an
in the
incel,
first
because-
one,
I'm discovering.
yeah,
your
in the
argument.
first
Okay.
one, it's basically his Nev Campbell's mom was the mistress to his dad, which caused his parents to divorce, and so his mom left him, and that fucked him up psychologically. And then you have Matthew Lillard, also amazing '90s.
I love Matthew.
Yeah.
Lillard.
Why is he?
So what's
Not
his
even
name?
just
Great
90s.
actor.
Yeah, just in general.
SLC Punk, one of my favorite
God,
movies.
yeah, amazing.
Fucking love
Hackers.
it. Scooby-Doo 2.
Scooby Doo 2 Monsters Unleashed.
Is that
So
actually
good.
the title of the
Of course it is. Solid film. Dumbass. Come on, dude.
All right.
I'm not up to date on the up to
Also,
date.
best
Scooby-Doo.
horror film, Scooby-Doo 2.
That's what I told Brandon. I was like,
Scooby-Doo
do
is-
Matthew Lillard, please. But no, Matthew Lillard is just a stupid friend who gets roped into it. Which, honestly,
That
like,
happens.
With
3 years later,
homicidal tendencies.
That shit happens.
3 years later, Columbine happened, and they were like, whenever they were coming out with the second Scream, they were like, well, this might, you guys are kind of influencing people in a bad way because it's got that same general idea.
But I was reading, so I did do some research about Scream, and one of the things I did like was the quote that was like, the guy who does it, I think, says, or somebody says, horror films don't make psychopaths. You know what I'm talking about?
Yeah,
That quote.
yeah.
They just make them more creative or something
Yeah,
like that.
yeah.
So even the first movie is saying like, don't blame the
Exactly,
don't blame the movies.
exactly.
These psychopaths are psychopaths, but these movies. And what's cool about that is that the movie is saying that the people in the movie who are psychopaths have been inspired by the horror films
Yeah,
before,
yeah.
They say
and that
that
has
at the
made
end of
them
the
more
reveal.
creative.
Yeah.
That's so fucking cool, dude. That's
And
really
then-
cool.
They
I don't,
bring
I
that
don't,
back
I
on
don't
the
like
fourth
slasher
one,
films.
too.
I don't like Scream, but I respect Scream. I respect it. I think it's a cool
The thing
concept.
is, I don't think the characters really matter that much in Scream. It's the way that the film is structured.
Yeah, I think that's
The
true.
That's very
characters
true.
you could just
That's
interchange them with
there's-
anybody.
Well, Nev Campbell definitely holds out throughout the entire
Yeah.
thing. She's
Why
very
didn't we
important.
talk about her?
We'll still talk about her. I think that.
Well, and that's what I was going to go into next was that so her mother's
because there's a lot about sexism in this.
Oh,
movie.
yeah.
her mother's affair is what haunts her whole life. Nev Campbell's character actually pretty irrelevant. She's always suffering because of her mother's actions. So then in the second movie, and this is actually very stupid, because the whole point in the first movie was that kid, he was abandoned by his mother.
Yeah.
And then in the second movie, his mother is the killer. Because she's like, whoa, you killed my son.
Yeah.
And it's like, yeah, but you abandoned him. That's why he did everything in the first place. And then she literally just hires Timothy
Self-defense.
Oliphant. From Timothy Oliphant is in the second one. She just gets him out of a chat room and is like, hey, you want to help me kill people? And he's like, yeah, okay, cool. She's like, I'll pay for your college education. Student loans, again, are so terrifying that he is willing to murder.
It's like, I will murder all my classmates.
I'll kill some people.
Yeah. And then...
Your student loans are paid off, so you're at that point.
Mine aren't, but Erica has enough that I will kill people to pay
would
those
kill
off.
people.
Yeah.
And then third movie is her half-brother who, again, he's like, our mother fucked us up so much, and she didn't accept us.
But the half brother was a product of rape, wasn't he? Because they talk about
heck?
the mother was trying
She
to
was an
become an
actress.
actress.
I'm not aware of all this Scream lore.
Yeah, there's a lot to the movie. I mean, like, it seems like a simple
And then
slasher,
Half
but
brothers are scary because they're like carrying their entrails on the bottom half that's not there. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So that's terrifying too.
Yeah.
And the CGI that they had to do to get him in that movie was pretty good for
I heard
2000.
they actually only use practical effects. which is
Holy
more
shit.
impressive.
Can we talk
They
about
slice that dude in half.
Can we talk about Candyman now?
Wait,
Because-
hold on. I just said one last thing. One last thing.
I'm just kidding.
The answer is no.
no, talk about
one
the
last
answer is a hard no.
One last thing was that
I've said Candyman 4 times now. By the way, that was the fifth. That was the fourth.
not in a
time.
row.
Okay, well, let's chill out.
Do you have to be in a
Let's
row?
not- So we can't actually
Cut
talk
out-
about
cut out
Candyman.
some misery.
Yeah. What is the
I can't mention his name.
What is the
What's the stipulation
What is it
here?
called? No. The goddamn. It's like the like you can't bring up a case because it's too old now.
Statute of limitations.
What's the statute of limitation on saying that?
that name?
Yeah.
Yeah,
Anyway.
15 minutes.
Okay.
The last thing that I was gonna say was that Ghostface in the last film, like that character ages very well because in the last one, then he ends up using technology, and instead of mimicking horror movies, he wants to create his own horror movie, and so
cool.
they start live
Is that the fourth
streaming.
one, or-
That's the fourth one.
People have said the fourth one is good again, is what I've read.
Oh, it's so good.
It's solid. It's solid.
Okay.
It's not the best, but it's solid. And so he starts live streaming murders. Which
Also, can we talk about Emma Roberts and her role in horror these days in another episode?
because
Yeah.
Emma Roberts is
Emma
actually
Roberts
killing the
Scream-
game.
Scream-
She's in all
She's
the
in
horror.
She's in
Scream,
Scream
Queens. She's in Scream 4.
Okay.
Scream
American Horror
Queens,
Story.
American Horror Story.
Yeah.
She is
So we're doing an
fucking
Emma
killing it.
Roberts
I saw
episode?
her.
Emma
Yes,
Roberts.
please.
I saw her.
Yeah.
And what's Emma Roberts' character is
She
her
was
best?
she was on the first bad season of American Horror Story, in my opinion. I think the Witches Coven season.
I love that season.
It was
I've heard
so
very bad things
corny.
about it.
I'm
So
sorry, it
corny.
wasn't good.
I think I got halfway
I
through
wanted
that.
to like it
Yeah,
because
Cecilia just likes
Roanoke?
witches.
Yeah, I
hold
just
on.
really like
But
witches.
hold on.
And they
I was
all
like,
look
Ceci,
so good in black all
I
the
like
time.
Witches too, and in the first 4 or 5 episodes of that season, I was like, dude, this season's going in such a cool direction, and then it just goes blah, blah, blah,
Yeah,
blah, blah,
no,
and just
same.
falls off.
I agree.
Okay.
The fucking saxophone axe guy, like, what the fuck was going on?
That's
with
the
that?
Axeman. That's a real New
So
Orleans
boring. Though. It
murderer.
was such a boring and stupid.
No,
plot.
that's what I loved about it.
Real
Like
life
I
is
loved.
often disappointing.
Yeah, I love that it was set in New Orleans. I love
hold
that
on,
they
should we
brought
go into-
Marie
Save it-
Laveau.
Save it for the American Horror
Let's not go
Story
into American
episode.
Horror
Yeah.
Story yet.
All right,
Speaking
of
I'm
New
gonna
Orleans.
fight for Coven. We'll
Do you
do
have
an
anything
American
else
Horror
to say about
Story.
Scream though? You were talking about Emma and Emma, but
No,
anything
she was
else?
No,
just
I
she was
just
just
love
pitching
Emma
Emma
What's
Roberts
something
at
else?
this point.
Because I want you to get more because I think we
I mean, we could do
Randy.
the Emma Roberts part.
do Randy or do Ghostface, whoever you want to do from Scream though.
I think we're done with Randy.
I like.
Do you have
yeah.
anything more to say about
I mean, Randy kind of came back too in the fourth one because that character, that's the murderer, is based on him.
Oh, yeah, and he references Randy.
He references Randy.
It's basically
so much.
a new
I mean,
age
yeah,
Randy.
everyone's characters are brought back in the fourth one. In
Oh, yeah,
some way.
I think I remember hearing that.
Yeah, but it's crazy to get the Randy character as the murderer at that point. Like,
Yeah.
he becomes
Randy
Ghostface.
archetype,
Yeah.
yeah.
So,
Also, Courtney Cox met David Arquette.
David Arquette.
Yeah.
Well, let's not talk about the bad things about the movie.
I forgot
All right.
Courtney Cox was in Scream until I
she's in
rewatched
Hold
Scream.
on,
Okay.
Gail Weathers?
This is as long as my other episodes are, and
Yeah.
we need to talk about Candyman, and we need to talk
Yeah.
about Interview with the Vampire.
Who
So
doesn't wanna
we're gonna
listen to
cut.
us
We're
for
gonna.
like
I mean,
2
Well, also there was like
we
20
did
minutes
talk
beforehand.
10 minutes. 10 minutes where we didn't do anything. So cut that out.
A lot of that shit gets cut out of
Okay.
post.
Yeah, but I'll cut
Alright,
some
so you got
misery
5
out, too.
minutes, and then we're gonna.
I'll
have to
cut some of
move
my
on.
misery.
I only
out.
need 1 second.
Yeah.
It just-
and then he wins.
Okay, it's over.
That's
All
it,
right.
yeah.
All right. So while Candyman is terrifying, the dude Candyman is
Yeah.
terrifying.
Yeah. Who plays him?
Tony Todd.
Tony Todd.
Who is that?
Tony Todd.
That's all you need to know.
TT, bro.
Candyman.
Okay, so it's
plays
self-referencing.
Candyman,
A
yeah.
few other things, but just
You
Candyman.
define
Really.
him without
Yeah.
using Candyman?
Even his mom, like they're like, "Who's Tony Todd?" She's like, "Oh, he played Candyman." She's
Yeah.
like, she's like, "Who is that?" It's like, "That's my son, Tony Todd."
Yeah.
Can't say anything else about him.
No, yeah, they're like, wait, is he your son? Well, he's Candyman. That's what he
See,
is.
that's gonna be like his epitaph on his gravestone, which should say Candyman.
Oh,
Yeah.
God, that'd be
100%.
amazing.
And then there's another dude that says Candyman, and
Can
it
you
says
put that
Tony
on my
Todd.
tombstone?
No, I got
Just Candy Woman.
All right, anyway, go ahead.
So, anyways, Candyman, terrifying dude, but I think Helen is a more interesting character. You know, she actually has character development, and
Yes.
like I said, I'm operating under the assumption that she is actually responsible for the Candyman murders,
Mhm.
which is pretty terrifying. It's established pretty early on that she's like obsessed with following this sort of like
Yeah.
urban myth.
Yeah.
And it's shown because her and her friend go to like the projects to investigate this murder.
Yeah.
Where does this take place in?
This is such a good thing.
Chicago.
That's what I thought.
In an actual place,
And here's the
Cabrini
thing.
Green,
Yeah.
which is actually like
So
tenement housing.
very dangerous like housing projects run by gangs.
Yeah.
And she is like breaking in and crawling in.
Gentrifying it. Yeah.
Yeah, she really is. They, like
kinda-
literally, she pulls up and they're like, "White woman."
Oh yeah,
cops.
No, it is very much white woman shows up and
I
thinks
think
she
that
can
movie,
do whatever she
that's another thing
wants.
that's great about that movie is, besides character, is the racial
Subtext in
interplay.
it?
Yeah.
So much subtext.
Oh no, it's very
But
relevant.
people accused it of being racist when it came out, but I feel like it's does a good job of like highlighting stuff.
No, I think it shows that
if there's anything racist in it, it's pointing it out.
It's this rich white woman who shows up and thinks she can do whatever she wants.
She's what is it called? When you're almost like it's like putting them in a museum kind of thing. Like this is my zoo almost. Like she's
just using them for research, but she doesn't.
What is it called?
Doesn't actually care about their struggle.
It's like a sideshow or a circus. Like I'm fine where I'm at. I'm gonna go there to have like it's like a safari. They call it a hood safari or something. Like you go to experience.
The fuck is that a term?
I've heard that before.
What is the term?
Like
it's a term like that. It's like you go to like. Oh yeah, I went to the hood once, and like you have a story to tell later. You know what I mean? I can't remember what it's called though, but it's called being fucked up and being white. That's what it is.
So, anyways, she's
fucked up white.
She's basically breaking into this apartment where someone was murdered, supposedly by Candyman, and her friend is like, what are you doing? You're taking this way too far.
Who is an African American woman?
Yeah, her friend is black, and she's like, let's just leave. This isn't worth it because they're not even solely supposed to study Candyman. It's like. Various urban legends, but she becomes fixated on it. And her friend is like, this is not worth it. It's very dangerous. Let's leave. But she still is, I would say, basically obsessed and goes in.
Yeah.
And I think
every white character in any horror, she wants to go towards the horror.
Whereas the black character is more reasonable and is like, no, I'm not trying to die.
Fuck that shit.
Yeah.
And then dies anyway.
True. Her friend does die.
I didn't know, actually. I was just guessing. I was guessing. That's how bad the trope is. Yeah.
I think it's this obsession combined with the head trauma that she receives shortly after that results in her, like, becoming the killer, basically.
Yeah. In the end, she sort of gets transformed.
Because...
Well, and what's weird is he asks her to be a victim.
Yeah. And then she just wakes up.
He doesn't make her the victim. He asks her to be the victim.
She wakes up in this lady's apartment, and her son is missing, and her dog is murdered.
Not her son, the woman that not Helen's, right?
The resident of this apartment.
Anne-Marie,
in the same housing project.
Which, by the way,
talk about horror, your kid being missing.
The Lakeith Stanfield thing, he's going to play that kid as he gets older.
Kid.
Yes.
Well, yeah.
That'd be amazing. That was his first role, and he plays it again 30 years later.
Oh, that role. Wow,
it's like Boyhood or whatever.
Yes.
It's like fucking Boyhood, but yeah. God damn.
So anyways, like the supernatural aspects of Candyman is pretty scary, but it's also... It's a little corny.
It's slasher.
It's like... what's her... Bloody Mary, It's like you look in the mirror and you say his name and he shows up.
Alright, go fucking do it right now then.
Done.
It's a little corny, but I think the idea that it's actually just this lady who is recreating these murders and emulating this myth is even scarier, honestly.
Well, and I also saw a really cool reading, and if I can find it, and I'll plug it like on our Twitter or whatever when we have it, but follow us at Your Favorite Character Sucks. But I saw this one dude who did a really cool reading. I think it must have been for a project because it was very presented like it was like for a college project or whatever. But he was reading it as like, because Candyman is originally an artist. Mm-hmm. It was like right after slavery ended, and he was an artist.
He was an aristocratic black man.
Yeah, which by the way, I heard that like Watchmen does the whole thing of like black people being prevailing after the Civil War and then just being fucking crushed by racist assholes. Yeah. And this is his story too, is that he prevails. He's a great artist or whatever, and the white people in the town can't fucking handle it, and he makes a pass at a white woman.
Well, yeah. So they kind of like.
So this is Holes.
Yes.
Yes. There's when he
Shia LaBeouf.
Yes, Holes.
When he's doing the art thing, they kind of.
Oh yeah.
It's kind of like a niche art because it's like, it's art from a black dude, and so, he has like an audience. But then as soon as he gets like with the white woman, it's like. Oh, too far. We got to kill him.
Yeah, and they cut his hand off.
Yeah.
Which by the way, lynch mob stuff like that. Usually, if it was somebody chasing a white woman, and this is what the guy mentions in his little synopsis or his thesis or whatever, they would cut off like, okay, he's a horny dude who's going to. They cut off like, they castrate him basically.
Yeah.
Jesus.
So,
but he's an artist.
That happened a lot in lynchings. And so he's an artist.
Remove his ability to create art.
Yeah, so he says the whole movie is about art and about, you want your, what does an artist want? What does they want their name to be known. They want their work to live on and stuff like that. And so what is he doing? He's trying to keep his name alive. He's trying to keep his art alive. And each murder is like another performance of art is basically what this thesis is.
So
I think it's a cool reading of it.
That is really cool, actually. My argument against Helen is that...
Oh, shit.
Because...
This is the first time we fought someone this episode.
Yeah. Your favorite character sucks. Here it goes.
Well, because they give Candyman a whole backstory, which is that he got his arm cut off. He gets covered in honey and put next to a hive of bees that he's stung to death.
Which, by the way, that's what I was going to bring up when we were talking about. When we were going to talk about realistic.
They say that they are eating the honey and stinging him to death. I don't know how accurate that would be.
They sting
Maybe
you when
he was
they're
allergic
if
to
they think
bees.
you're attacking their hive, then they're going to sting you.
Oh, wait. Sorry. Before I move on. I also found out that Tony Todd,
Yeah, the bees were real.
fucking genius, he negotiated
Yeah, I
a
saw that
bonus for every sting he got.
The bees were real.
He got
That's what I was
stung
going to say.
23 times. So
He-
he got
he had to have bees in his mouth.
$23,000
Yeah.
just from bee stings.
He put real bees in his mouth.
Yeah, he had
Like,
bees
we were
in
talking
his
about
mouth.
practical.
Commitment.
We were talking about practical stuff.
and
Yeah,
not get stung.
he got stung though.
He got stung 23 times.
But made 23,000 extra.
Is that worth it? I suppose so.
That's pretty cool though. The real bees and they trained them
Yeah.
or whatever. They said that they like got young bees that wouldn't have powerful stings and stuff like that. It's really neat.
Well, so I think he has this whole interesting backstory. And
So you're saying Candyman is more interesting than Helen?
I do. I think he is. But I think in your defense also, like
He's boring in the present though, because he just kind of stands there with
No,
a
that's what
hook.
he
I'm saying.
does, yeah, and he never actually.
His backstory doesn't really coincide with his present thing.
Unless you read deeply into it, like that guy did, like about the
Yeah.
art and all that stuff.
well, and
it's not clear in the movie if that is the case.
there's a scene at the end where there's a mural of his old lover,
Yeah.
and so the argument is that Helen could potentially be a resurrection of his old lover, and so his whole thing is like, oh, that's why he wants her to be his victim. He wants her to willingly join him so that
Yeah.
they can be together forever. But
It's kind of spooky.
I have another thing about Helen though. If you have more, go for it. and I'll
I
do
do,
it.
but
Go ahead.
well, I was just gonna say, and so I think he has a very interesting backstory, and I think it's a very cool character, but I just don't think that it's fleshed out enough. But I didn't get that idea that Helen was actually doing all the murders the entire time, because at the end of the movie she turns into her own urban legend, and then she's the killer at the end. So
well, see how I view it is, she is recreating his murders, and then that lady knows the. You
Yeah.
said her name earlier. I don't
Anne
know.
Marie.
Wait a minute.
Yeah.
Is this fucking cultural appropriation?
In what way?
Is she's going
taking
in and
a-
she's taking
yeah,
a black
black
man,
murderer-
a black murderer?
But she
persona?
becomes. I would say she becomes
Goddamn.
the new myth. She
does.
replaces him.
for sure.
She's the Iggy Azalea
And so
of
at the
fucking
end,
murderers.
God.
The whole community shows up to her funeral and throws the freaking meat hook in her grave.
Yeah.
And so it's like she becomes the new urban legend.
Yeah, the new urban legend. Yeah.
She definitely does.
Yeah,
I
so,
agree
like,
with that 100%.
When we say urban legend, how are we using the word urban?
well, so she
Okay,
becomes
calm
the
down,
new
son.
she
that a
becomes
sign?
the new myth, but Candyman was the urban legend.
Oh God.
Oh, because
Jesus
Because
Christ.
if it's about a white person, it's a
Yeah,
myth.
she's the suburban legend. Yeah.
Uh,
Anyway.
But no, she definitely. I do agree. She definitely does become the urban legend
Which
at
is
the
really
end.
cool.
And- yeah, and it is very cool.
Candyman, one of the first iconic like black horror
Yeah.
figures too. You had
Oh,
like Freddy and you had
And we were talking about
Jason.
just his like
Halloween
costuming and
Michael.
appearance
Yeah.
is badass.
Like he just has a sick
He
1800s fucking French pimp coat.
literally
Like character design?
floor length fur lined coat with that horrific
Yeah, just
meat hook.
literally the only
on
scary
one
thing
stump.
about him is that bloody stump.
He's
with
got a
the
good
hook.
voice too, right? I think.
Oh yeah,
That's why Tony Todd is
very
iconic,
deep
because his
and
voice is
scary
so-
voice.
So
Tony Todd, not even Candyman.
No, yeah, Tony Todd. He's in any horror movie that he's in. A big part of what he does is
All right.
his voice.
the other thing about Helen that's cool, I think that is positive for your character, is they do deal with like sexism a little bit with her character too. So Candyman was created out of racism, and I think Helen's character is a little bit motivated by her like as a woman being separated because her husband is this like what is he, like a professor or something, or
Yeah.
and he sort of like puts her aside a lot, like when they're in conversations like, oh, her things are laughable, like my stuff is more serious, you
Yeah,
know,
for
and then
sure.
he cheats on her.
Yeah, he's cheating.
And so there's
And
a lot of that kind
I
of
think,
thing.
yeah, so she's trying to convince everyone that, this Candyman shit is going on.
And she's hysterical.
Yeah, exactly.
She's hysterical. She needs to get put
Everyone's
away.
just saying you're crazy.
Yeah. So there's a little bit of sexism going on there, which kind of makes that character interesting too, because she's battling with that and showing us that movie. We got to get to Louis, and then we'll do the final part of this. But Interview with the Vampire.
Man, so you can only talk about the film because
I'll mention the
the
book.
book is 70s. I feel like that's not really
70s? Anne Rice wrote it in the
I think
70s?
79.
I talked about,
It's like Star Wars is considered
Well, the
80s,
book,
but it's
book and movie, I'm
79.
telling you, are very close. It's a very
I talked
close
about
Scream
Scream all the way
difference.
through 2011 because it's still part of the.
Yeah, that's true.
I didn't
Well,
bring up the book just because I didn't feel like it was relevant.
Also, you're not talking about
the Scream book.
The script?
the junior novelization.
The graphic
Yeah,
novel.
the novelization.
Got the
I
junior
bet there
novels.
is, like,
I always
something.
love talking
There must
about
be.
it.
Yeah.
I'm interested in the junior novelization of
Fanfic?
interview based upon the movie, based upon the book. So
Jesus
there's just
Christ.
many layers, and you just keep chopping
Yeah.
things out.
So Louis though is a cool character. I think.
I think
he
Louis
is
is the best character in the movie.
Oh yeah.
Because, I mean, he's the main character. He's the one telling the story. So
I
everything
like
is just
Lestat
sort of-
too.
Lestat doesn't
And
have.
Kirsten Dunst's character is really cool too.
But her character is cool. Lestat doesn't get as much characterization in the film.
In that.
And also, the stuff that he does get is all through the lens of Louis.
Yeah.
So Louis is telling the story. So like whenever he describes like Lestat shit like that, he always
Yeah,
describes
it's
it as
with
like
the-
it's like an archetypal vampire. Like
Yeah.
cares for himself, will feast
He's a
on like
maniac.
humans and things like literally
He
just-
has mood swings.
Yeah, exactly. Bipolar. A lot of the same
Lestat was
aspects.
telling the story.
No.
No.
No, Louis is.
Louis is the one telling the story.
Lestat is the second novel, which there's no movie for that.
Yeah.
But
No, there is.
Queen of the Damned.
Queen of the Damned is not.
No,
Yeah, it's got a movie.
Came out. It
second
had a
book-
Very,
yeah.
very
But Queen of the
bad.
Damned
The
is
second
a
book-
book.
Yeah,
Yeah,
Queen of
yeah.
the Damned is
Yeah,
not the
it's not.
second book.
Lestat is the second book. Lestat,
Vampire
and
Lestat
it's
is the
Vampire Lestat is the second book. And I don't think that's the movie.
Oh.
It's not.
Wait,
Queen of
so
the
am I
Damned is the
wrong
third
that-
book?
There's
Tom
like
Cruise is
13
alive at the
Anne
end?
Rice vampire books.
Tom Cruise
I think
is
Queen of the
alive
Damned is
at the end,
another
and
one
he
of
just
them.
knocks
Okay,
off
'cause
some
I
random
thought-
dude.
That's
Yeah.
how it ends. Is
He doesn't knock out
There
random
was
dude.
one
He
that
kills
was
Christian
like-
Slater.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, which by the way, Louis trying to get the word out about vampires, not getting fucking out
Yeah,
because
exactly,
yeah.
Lestat kills that guy.
And that whole Christian Slater is trying to get turned into a vampire.
Yeah, that's
and
the
Louis
whole
is like,
thing.
you're not
Oh,
listening
man,
to
I
this
love
story.
that, yeah.
He's
No,
like,
that's so
this whole
good.
story is
It's
trying to tell
such-
you why it's terrible.
God, dude, such a good
So the thing about
plot.
Interview
Ugh.
and why it's like so scary, it's because you think about like the circumstances that led to like specifically like Louis becoming a vampire or whatever. So like a lot of like turmoil with his family stuff. He feels like responsible for like his brother's death, and then he gets changed by Lestat, who like essentially just like I feel like
Lestat comes from poverty.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
So I mean, there are motivations like money, right? Because he's like
Class is a big part of
Oh,
this, the
yeah,
story.
for sure.
Yeah.
So he turns him for money and like for companionships and stuff like that. But it sucks because like
Sucks. Because it's a vampire movie. This is count.
that was a good one. Yeah, it's like when I think
Dracula.
of counts. No, I don't even think of Dracula. I think of
One,
I
two.
think, no, I don't even think of. I think of Chocula.
Ah.
So really, we're taking it 2 layers down. Like if you think of the most famous vampires, like Dracula is definitely at the top, and then the Count, right from Sesame Street, probably be the second one. Then the third one is probably Count Chocula, right?
Yeah. Dr. Acula.
But what about Louis?
Yeah, let's talk about Louis.
Oh yeah, Louis. So Louis falls even further down on that list, in my opinion. But I do love the character.
He's below Count Chocula.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah. Okay, anyway, go
I
ahead.
mean, how often? Okay, if I mention like Count Chocula to a random person off the street, they'll definitely be like, "Oh yeah, Count
That's
Chocula."
actually 100% true.
Exactly.
Name recognition? First of all, we don't even know Louis' last name. We know Count Chocula's last name is Chocula.
And also, Louis just had like money and status as like an indigo plantation owner.
Yeah.
Chocula is a count. Okay, that's a level of richness that far surpasses. So, and you think about the way like vampires are, it's like usually like typically like as they age, they get more
They don't
powerful.
age, yeah.
Exactly. Well, I mean, as they get
As
older,
time passes, yeah.
as time passes, they just get power. I think that's part of Anne Rice's like.
They sort of
vampire, like-
develop, they understand things better. And
Well, they also
love
just
it.
literally get new.
You can
powers.
gain, yeah.
So think how powerful Chocula is.
Yeah.
Oh my god.
That's what I'm saying.
I mean, he can make the most delicious cereals.
Exactly.
So,
Yeah.
He turns your milk into chocolate milk.
holy shit.
Which
Basically
is
Jesus
a
Christ.
great post-workout beverage.
Oh,
So why am I even arguing for Louis here?
Yeah, okay, anyway, get back to it.
Louis is awesome though because like after that whole situation where like he thinks like he's responsible for the death of his like brother, he wants to like kill himself, too cowardly to do so, which I feel we've all been there.
Yeah.
And like so,
We've all had a rope around our neck at some point.
and no, but then he thinks that like this is like sort of the out and is like drunken haze. He's like, okay, I'll be turned into a vampire, and that's like you think that that's something you want
When you're drunk, yeah.
exactly. Like not
When
even-
you're in a weak
Yeah, when you're in a
point.
weak state of mind, or if you're just a weak-willed person,
Yeah.
and you're sort of seduced by that like life of immortality.
Ah.
But then, like you find out it's sort of like very similar, I think, to like in Misery. Like you find out like the longer the film goes, he starts describing his like, and he does it, I think, in a better way because instead of just like the story being like the point that drives it, right? Like
Yeah.
her craziness is like sort of revealed. He's just telling a story about them, right? About their family unit, which ends up being Kirsten Dunst's character, Tom Cruise, and
eventually the caregiver. But that's when Lestat's gone, right?
yeah, that's after Lestat. They assume he's dead.
They try to kill him.
Well, they try to kill him. But
apparently vampires are immortal besides being in the sun.
well, they have like
fucking burn that dude.
Archetypal weaknesses is sunlight,
Yeah.
fire, holy water.
But he didn't die from fire, so
he's too old and too powerful, right? That's like one of the things. And there's a bunch of like lore that goes into it, but I don't even care about that stuff.
Because Lestat has actually talked to like ancient pharaoh. Like apparently vampirism goes back to like Egypt. In the books.
And so the most powerful vampires are like from way back when.
Mm-hmm.
But I don't care about that lore stuff. In interviews specifically, he's like more one-dimensional.
He's a Scientologist too, so that's kind of fucked up.
Yeah, and honestly,
no, for real.
Yeah, no, he's an agent of.
I can't support that. So.
Yeah, well, I mean, he had to get those powers to fight Xenu.
Xenu, yeah. To fight him?
Yeah.
You need to fight Xenu?
Isn't Xenu the bad guy?
I don't think Xenu's the bad guy.
Xenu's the bad alien guy.
Maybe let's not plug Scientology.
Save it for the Scientology.
the favorite Scientologist.
Yeah.
A famous Scientologist or ex-Scientologist.
Yeah.
We're going to have to cut all this in post because I'm not comfortable including anything about Scientology.
Oh, God. You think they're going to come after us?
Well, we're too small. But, you know, somebody comes back and, like, years later, and it's, like, going through our podcast and our Twitter and stuff, and then...
Oh, yeah, once we're big.
Yeah.
I see what you're
once
saying.
we're huge.
Okay.
Cecilia hasn't commented on Scientology. Just by the way.
But not commenting is just as bad as being...
Exactly.
Yeah, you have to say something pro.
If you don't
Cecilia was out of the room when this happened.
I just came back
Look,
from
I
Russia.
gave-
What was the conversation?
What's that? Scientology?
I feel like we gave them more of a chance. We went to the church in Austin.
Did you?
Yeah.
That's
Okay, but for real
terrifying.
though, let's.
Why is
That's
that-
terrifying.
Yeah,
That is
no,
terrifying.
we're talking about
If we've
horror.
already gone 20 minutes over, we should probably not get into
Okay, so-
Scientology.
So yeah, the reason
Need
why
somewhere good.
Louis is such a good character, and why like the movie as a whole is like kind of like a horror, dark fantasy for
What's
sure.
scary in that movie? What scares? I'm wondering if there's
Okay,
anything
so-
scary. Because
The
I don't really
prospect
scared.
of
The
living
prospect of
eternally.
like wanting to kill
It's
yourself
tragic.
and
It's
instead
tragic,
being
yeah.
turned into an immortal.
Yeah,
Like being
I'm not
unable-
trying to disqualify your character, but I do
Yeah.
want to know is it really horror? I don't
There
know.
was nothing in that movie that necessarily unsettled me or
yeah.
scared me. I do honestly, yeah.
That's because you
It
know
can be a little fucked up. I mean, they are killing people.
you gotta be like subsumed with the feeling of like existential dread and having to live with that for
I can see
literally
that
the rest
for
of your
sure.
fucking life.
Yeah.
And the problem is like he gets changed when he's like in a state of weakness, and he thinks it's like fine at first, but as he lives
And he
like
can't
a
turn
half
back.
century, a century,
can't
and
change
beyond,
it.
and then he questions like the nature of like who he is,
Yeah.
like does God even like exist for people like him and that kind of stuff.
I
like
mean,
that.
he's like feasting on rats and
He doesn't
shit.
eat
like literally
humans.
he doesn't want to eat humans. He doesn't want to succumb to like who he is.
That makes
right?
him a really cool character too.
which makes him an awesome
because how are vampires represented before that? Not like that.
Exactly.
You know.
and he still has all of like the nature of like a vampire. Like he's Brad Pitt, right? He's like he has all like the seductive powers and like stuff, and he could do all these things if he wanted to, and he doesn't do them because he lives with that like feeling of like I am human,
He's
but I'm
like
not
a,
human as well, and he can't kill
he's
himself
like
still because he still is too much of a coward.
He's like an ascetic. Like he's like a very like Taoist kind of like. I could do things, but I'm gonna be simple. I'm not gonna do those things. What was it
Well,
called?
I think it's also out of like fear for like of who he is.
He doesn't want to become something.
Yeah, well, he still considers
He doesn't
himself
want to
human in a
embrace
lot
that
of
side of
aspects.
it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
He
I
hates
guess
that
himself.
that is what he did.
For
And
me-
he hates that Lestat did that to Kristen Dunst's character as well, Claudia.
Yeah.
And
Oh, finally, yeah, Claudia.
yeah, oh yeah, I guess we've been dancing.
There's
around.
also a very
Kristen
interesting
Dunst
character.
is not the name of the character in the film. Kristen Dunst
Yeah.
is the actress who
Anne
plays.
Rice definitely elevated what vampires could be and asked real questions that nothing
Well,
about vampires had asked
before Anne Rice, I think it was just literally
Yeah.
Dracula.
Bram Stoker. Yeah.
Bram
Pretty
Stoker's
much.
Dracula, which is excellent.
And now there's a bunch of crap.
But
I
a
mean,
lot of
like,
it is based off of like I think a lot of the stuff around like vampires, even like a lot of the like lore and like fiction, like because if you
Anne
think
Rice?
about Dracula, like he can turn into a bat. He's got like a little bit of like mind powers.
You can't
and
do
stuff
that in
like-
Anne Rice's stuff. No.
They
They
can.
turn into bats.
Well, they can fly,
They can fly. Yes.
which is better.
Yeah, better than being a bat. Yeah.
Like being a bat is actually
fuck wants to turn
that's a
into a bat?
downgrade. Yeah, exactly. So you can like fly, read minds, suggestion. Eventually, they become like daywalkers, which is I guess like Blade is also like a part of that too. I feel like everything comes off of like either Anne Rice for the most part, like all the modern stuff.
Yeah.
But also all the like I don't even care about like the lore stuff. I'm talking about the like existentialism of like wanting to kill yourself and then being turned into like an immortal being that like even if you wanted to kill yourself, like it becomes like more difficult and still like being too much of a fucking coward to do it.
Yeah.
And that shit is fucking terrifying.
It's pretty good.
And the fact
doesn't scare
that-
me, but yeah,
Oh,
Yeah, that's what I was gonna say. Is that it's for me.
it's a great character. still.
Again, we were saying that like it's not necessarily straight up horror, and as far as like '90s horror goes, it didn't scare me. I find
I saw it young
but,
too. I saw it when I was young.
Like the way that you're describing it, no, it's definitely
I don't
true.
think it's about like being scared. Like slashers aren't scary.
How you doing, folks? My name's Mike Myers, and though I know what you're thinking, not the big SNL comedian from Love Guru. I'm just a horror aficionado who wants to help save lives. What's the scariest thing in life? Is it a crazed serial killer with a sledgehammer at the foot of your bed? Is it a hook-handed urban legend that appears in your bathroom window? Not at all. Mike Myers has been around for a while, and I know that the scariest thing in the world is suicidal ideation and the experience of an existential crisis. After all, you can't run from yourself, right? Well, that's not a problem anymore, because good old Mike Myers here has helped start a non-profit organization where you can call and speak to a live, undead vampire. Give him a call, let these blood-sucking counselors give you advice before you take your own life. If you let one of our live undead vampire counselors come to your house and do a home visit, you'll have a lifetime to discover what life is worth living for. If you're feeling down on your luck like Louis DePonte, portrayed beautifully by Brad Pitt in the documentary series Interview with a Vampire, then you need to give us a call at 1-800-LIFE-SUCKS. That's 1-800-LIFESUX, where we say give life a second chance.
Okay, well, here's the third part then. Let's talk about the characters in specific categories. Which character out of all these is the most terrifying? Like, which one, if you found out that you were in a room or in a forest or anywhere alone with this character, you would be the most terrified?
Candyman?
Candyman's pretty fucking
Oh,
terrifying.
wait, we're not doing Candyman, though.
Oh, by the way,
Isn't my character.
Candyman.
Shit.
Well, that's Helen.
Well, then Ghostface.
But Helen becomes the Candyman figure later, so we could consider her sort of Candyman. But Candyman here, for me, I want to say it was one of the sequels to Candyman, and I could just be completely wrong. But like, it was a boy on a toilet, and like a fucking hook comes out of the toilet and gets him. I seriously, from a young age, I saw that scene. I could not sit on a fucking toilet.
That's
after
like the
that.
gruesome version of the
I
drug,
seriously,
where the hand comes out of the back of your head.
I am not joking. From the age of like 5 to like almost 10, I used to sit on the toilet like with my hands on the
What the
seat
fuck
like
is
this,
wrong with you?
and like look down at night, not like during the day.
Okay.
But at nighttime, I would go and I'd be like just panicked because that scene fucked me up. Like the idea of sitting there, it's the most vulnerable thing to
What,
be
just take the
naked
shit?
on a toilet, like, you know, and just it's fucking terrifying. So that scared me. But yeah, so Candyman is the one that's the most scary when you're by yourself.
Well, this character's not Candyman.
Okay, well, yeah, Helen becomes Candyman, I guess, in a way, you know.
Is
Like I
that
said, I
speculative?
think-
Well, that's up for debate.
Yes.
I think
Speculative.
I think
She doesn't
Candyman
mean it.
is
It's totally a succession.
Not
scarier,
Candyman. She
but Helen
becomes
is a
her
better
own-
character.
You say Helen. I mean, it's the same sort of concept, though. You summon her
So
and
is
she kills you with a
Candyman-
fucking hook.
She doesn't kill you with a hook.
She
For
does.
me, it's like the difference
Oh
between
yeah,
this-
actually, no, I'm sorry, you're right. She does
That's
have
gonna
a
be a hook.
She
but
kills her
also,
husband with
I
a
mean,
hook.
if you're just going by that, I mean, is Candyman Bloody Mary? Is it the exact same thing?
Yeah,
much.
true.
I don't know.
The thing about Ghostface, I'd be most afraid of Ghostface because it'd probably be John.
Wait, what the fuck? It would be me, yeah.
It'd be
Yeah,
the
right. It would
person
literally
you
be
like
out of this table.
most
Really
and least
Here's the
suspect.
thing.
Yeah, because it's always a white person. You're
Yeah.
right.
It's
You're
always
right.
a white person.
Here's the thing.
Right.
The most...
That's terrifying.
Because those movies are primarily just white people.
It really
That's
is.
true. So I guess just like ratios.
Here's the thing. The most underprivileged group in 2019 is white men. I mean,
okay.
we've taken a lot of L's.
We've taken a lot.
We've taken a lot of L's.
Yeah.
Great.
I
This
mean,
is a rabbit hole.
we can't say whatever we want anymore on podcasts.
You have to be Gordon Hayward
You can't even
fans,
you can't even get
Professor
an,
fans.
you can't even get an SNL job if you said some racial slurs. You know what I'm saying? Like, what
Jesus
the heck?
Christ.
Come on, guys.
Yeah, so I'm going with Ghostface. Like, in terms of, like, people I don't want to be in a room with.
I mean,
The reason I don't particularly like Scream is I think supernatural horror is much scarier. Because with someone like Ghostface, and the argument like we just saw in Scream 4 is that some people find it scarier because it's more real.
that's true.
But for me, I'm like, at least you know you can fight back or you know you can run. I could probably outrun a dude in a robe.
No,
I'm not gonna lie.
And
No, Brand's actually
and
surprisingly
literally
fast.
in every
In
single
a Party
movie,
City mask and robe.
Yeah, I could
He
probably outrun
also
the
barely see out of his side.
he's never a fast or athletic person either. He gets fucked up multiple times in all of those movies.
Yeah, what's her name? Beats the
def-
shit out of him halfway
yeah,
through the movie.
yeah, like
throws like a beer
literally-
bottle and just cracks.
Yeah,
out.
he really gets fucked up. So
Yeah.
it's definitely true.
So
You
that's
can
also
fight back.
John-
That's why I think.
Jujitsu, so, like,
That's why I think supernatural stuff is scary because
Yeah, so
you don't
if
know
he's-
how
I
to deal
tear
with
that
it.
guy
So,
apart.
so no, what I'm saying is you're
I can see
Ghostface.
Hold on, the Scream 5 Jiu-Jitsu Ghostface.
That's what I'm saying. In our hypothetical situation, he's Ghostface.
I'm Ghostface. I'm
And
the
he's-
fucking
He's
ultimate.
the one
And
with
you have
martial
the,
experience.
and you have the bat.
I have a baseball bat, but that's not good enough.
You're not gonna stop
First
me?
of all, yeah, I mean,
not gonna stop me, bro.
They had like a gun in at the end of City.
Well, first of all, I have all this like
He
fabric.
gets shot multiple times and has like
exactly.
a
I
bulletproof
throw
vest
my
on.
fabric up, and you just swing, and you don't know where I'm at, and then I come at you with a knife. Yeah, it's done. I might do this.
So you think Jesus?
Hey, y'all better not.
Let the record
Are you
show
thinking
that,
that-
this is logged at exactly 6:41 p.m. according to this computer.
Wait,
Yeah.
This computer.
When this comes
Yeah.
into court, they're gonna be like,
It was
Times don't match
8:41.
up,
Yeah.
guys.
It was 8:41.
We heard the
6:41.
delivery man
Where's the
knock on the
delivery
door,
man? I
and
thought it was
And then
supposed to be 8:30.
it's going to
I
be
put it as
also
8:45.
3:03 on my watch.
Okay, so scariest. If you were alone by yourself, whatever, is it
I go with Ghostface.
Ghostface?
would go with-
Not Louis, because Louis not going to attack you.
Yeah.
Yeah, Louis is a nice guy.
Louis not
I
scary,
don't think.
'cause
I
it's
would
a dark
say
fantasy.
maybe Annie Wilkes, just because
Well, I would say
in the context of the film, because you're helpless, you really can't.
But it's not
if
in
you're
the
helpless,
context of the film.
it's not in the context of the film. If
Yeah.
you're helpless, if you're in that situation of misery, then it's terrifying, right?
Yeah.
Annie Wilkes is terrifying
It's very
because she's a
specific.
sheep, or she's a wolf in sheep's clothing.
Yeah.
And that's terrifying to me. The snakes
No
in the
offense,
grass.
Kathy Bates. I think all of us could take you.
Well, to be honest
So,
with you,
I'm
I
just-
would.
I mean, just-
Well,
I would
Kathy Bates
say.
was disturbed by that character. You know,
Yeah.
she didn't like it. So.
I would say Annie Wilkes also because even though do I think that she could physically overpower me? Yes, because I'm not very strong.
I'm going with Candyman. I think Candyman is the most terrifying.
But also, for
or
me,
Helen, I guess.
it would be the fact that you can't predict what she's gonna do. She's too unpredictable and too wild. So that's
All right.
why I would say that one.
Yeah.
For me, it would be Annie as well because, first of all, I wouldn't even have to be 2 beers deep to agree to become a vampire.
Oh, really?
Saying Helen,
So you did not
Helen,
learn any
Helen.
lessons from
So,
Louis.
yeah,
No, I didn't learn it. I was like, that
She just
shit
looks at the
looks
Yeah,
awesome.
she just looks
Okay,
at the
but
nuts.
for-
Again.
She's
No.
watching Robert Pattinson in Twilight.
Also,
That's what she's doing.
secondly, I'm not going to say
No.
Helen,
I'm gonna
and
say
be scared.
Helen.
You only said it 3 times.
I'm gonna
though.
say Helen
Why didn't you
before
say
she
5?
dies, though.
I think she's a little scared.
She's a little scared.
Helen before she dies, before it's supernatural, she just comes to you. She's this unassuming.
She's also maybe a sheep.
She's this unassuming
With your
grad
theory.
student.
With your theory.
Yeah, who is like
can take a grad
trying to study
grad
stories in your
student.
community,
Yeah.
and then she breaks in your home and kidnaps your
She-
baby and cuts your dog's head off,
She is the
Okay,
she
yeah,
is the
don't
white
give me
she's
my
the
dog.
middle class white person
Exactly.
coming into the black neighborhood,
and doing fucked up
fucking
shit.
up your kids,
Yeah.
you know, all that shit.
That's
Taking
terrifying.
your culture. Oh, that's
I guess
why it's
actually
scary.
I would say that Louis would be the most terrifying for me because
He won't hurt humans.
he won't hurt humans, but would I fuck Brad Pitt? Yeah, of course.
Oh, just
Okay.
And just-
nice. Yeah, you
so-
get what he
So
So
you would
really,
try to
for
rape him
me-
and then he would own you.
For me, it's not that I'm scared he would hurt me.
Yeah.
It's,
You're scared of what you would do.
I'm scared of being hurt by him.
Okay, so I think Candyman and Scream sort of got on that. What would be the most scary? Most popular, I would say probably Scream. Right? Ghostface is like
Definitely.
every Halloween.
Yeah.
I would say kids
Still,
have
to this day.
Kids know the Ghostface
Oh, yeah,
mask
no,
even
it's
if they don't
very
know
iconic.
Scream.
Even if you
Yeah.
don't know, it's
There's echoes of it.
Ghostface,
There's echoes of
the
it.
mask
You
just
know what
exists.
it is at least, yeah.
So most popular,
And it's
Ghostface,
iconic.
right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Forever. I hope they come out with the 5
Most 3-dimensional.
with Emma Roberts.
Yeah, I think it would go to Louis or
It has
Annie
to
Wilkes
be.
or Helen, maybe.
I think it has
Probably
to be Louis.
Louis.
I would give it to
2.5
Louis.
dimensional.
And it's unfair because Louis
Louis is good.
has a book about him.
And I was gonna say, especially because
So does Misery.
Louis also
That's true.
has.
But Misery's from James Caan's perspective.
Yeah, exactly.
Well, I don't know what the fucking character's name is. Jeff. It doesn't really fucking matter.
But no, I would say
cares? Jeff-
Louis is way more three-dimensional.
Jeff Whiteman.
especially because he has.
Annie is very obsessed and
Jeff
focused
Queen.
on like one thing.
And with Louis, not only does he have a whole book, but you have literally centuries worth of history
Yeah.
that you can attribute to him, and they go into some depth to it.
Yeah.
So I think that's definitely the most.
Oh,
All right, so
three-dimensional.
Louis
The
most
book is
3-dimensional.
just about exploring like who he is and like his beliefs in like religion and all those things. So
Yeah.
by de facto, like it has to be him, I'd imagine.
Okay.
I mean,
Any other
Raven
categories you
have
want to
no
consider?
layers?
What are other did we do any other categories in the other ones? I can't think.
Like most attractive, Louis.
I don't think that's relevant.
I mean,
I would go with Randy.
Kathy Bates.
Randy, obviously.
Kathy Bates. Come on, man.
Compared to Brad Pitt, it doesn't matter. Like
You're comparing to Brad Pitt. When you're comparing to Brad Pitt, it's like,
and yeah,
where's the bar?
that wasn't even like the apex of like Brad Pitt's era. You know what I'm saying?
It
Like,
wasn't.
Troy.
No, that was early.
Troy or
Brad Pitt.
Fight Club.
I don't like Troy because I don't like that hair. Fight Club.
Troy or Fight Club was
oh
just.
God, yeah.
When Troy, when he gets up from that like orgy that he has, and his fucking abs are, god damn, dude.
For me, it's just the
very-
hair that
he's
doesn't
very
do
cut.
it.
So most
Again, if
attractive
I was
Brad Pitt
fighting, if
or
I was
Louis.
fighting-
best played. Whose actor or character was like best portrayed?
Annie Wilkes.
It could be
Yeah.
her, but I think it could also be Brad Pitt.
Brad Pitt
a good
did
job.
really
He did a
well,
good job.
and I did like that
And a
character.
lot of it was
but-
narration, though.
The woman who played Helen, also very good. I think she's iconic for that role. I think that's like her most memorable role. I don't know.
I don't
I
know
don't
her
know
from
who
anything
she
else.
is.
I think that just the fact that we don't know who it is, you know what I'm saying? Like,
I think it's
That says
it
a
starts
lot.
with a V.
and
or it
also
has
to be
in it,
fair,
Victoria. or
Kathy
something.
Bates did win like
She got an Academy
won an
Award.
Oscar.
she won
Yeah,
Academy
yes.
Awards, so somebody decided, somebody with some sort of
I'm
credibility.
gonna be honest. For all the other episodes, by the time we got to this point, I knew who I was gonna choose. I still don't know. I don't know which of these I would say is the best.
Oh shit!
I know which one's the worst. So that's all that
Which one's the worst?
I don't want to hurt Ceci's feelings, so I'm not going to say it.
Jamie Kennedy should have won an Oscar, okay? Was he not nominated?
But not for that one.
I
for
want
the
to change.
Mask
I want
too. Son of the Mask.
to change my character to Dewey from Scream.
Oh my god!
Dewey
Actually,
is such a great fucking character.
holy shit!
Scream is full of great characters.
Are there
Like,
any other? We didn't do any other honorable mentions. I did Ash from Evil
didn't
Dead.
have- I was
We did
thinking
Hannibal
about,
Lecter. Are there any other honorable mentions that I
I
can
was
put back?
thinking.
Oh, yeah. Go.
From
Can
the
I do
90s?
some honorable
We
mentions
can take a
on
break.
just like good,
Go ahead.
or not good, but
From the 90s.
fun, horror movies from the 90s was like Urban Legends. That
Urban
was
Legend
90s,
was a good
right?
one. Yeah.
Also, what was the
That's
other
the
one?
thing about horror is a lot of them. It's not character based.
I Know What You Did Last Summer. It's a good
Very
one.
good. Very good.
They're plot based or they're like situational based. So yeah, I think.
So do you guys
Doesn't mean
usually?
anything to me.
Do you guys actually like choose?
Oh, yeah.
So here's what we're gonna do. We have to decide. So in your head, you have to make a decision. If you're still on the fence, we got to figure out a way to get you off the fence. I mean,
Well, I'm just gonna have to do it myself.
okay. So what we do is not smart, but it's tradition already, which is we all say the character that we think
I
is the
would
best
say
at
that
once.
You
I
just
think
go
we should-
3, 2, 1, and you
And then
just
you
say
say
It's
it.
not
Do you
smart, but
guys-
it's definitely wise.
Okay.
Do you guys
It's not
vote for
smart because
yourselves?
you can't hear it
You
on the
can.
you can't hear it on the podcast. So like we always and we can't even hear it in person. We always end up having to go. What'd you say?
Yeah.
So, but we're still gonna do it. 'cause
So
it's
for
tradition.
instance, like first episode, John voted for himself, which is Snape, and I also voted for Snape, and so Snape won.
yeah.
Okay.
Well, Emily also voted for Snape. It was basically only me
I
that
think
was
Matt
voting
always
for
chooses
Snape.
himself.
Of
I'm gonna
course,
vote for
because
Snape.
I'm smart.
Okay.
And I regretted choosing Xavier in the X-Men because I did like Magneto more.
Yeah,
but
I still
yeah,
won, so
yeah.
it's
It was fine.
Well,
yeah.
you didn't win. Magneto won.
That's
Yeah,
true.
which is me.
And honestly,
But
He
what
is
are we
Magneto.
voting on? Because there's
Just
so
the
many
best-
different
the best
aspects.
character.
we are
Yeah.
deciding.
Just
Yeah.
overall
No.
best
Depth.
character.
Here's the thing.
Scariness.
combination.
Yeah, you have to
Exactly,
decide.
you have to
And so
consider all
here's the thing.
Take
And
all that
I,
into consideration.
and again, this
Can
is
we come back
all of our
tomorrow?
podcasts also end the same way, which is me explaining to the guests the process and all that stuff, and then also saying that we're experts. We have spent 10,000 hours in this conversation. 10,000 hours is the definition
We spent
of an
10,000
expert,
seconds at least.
at least.
No, we haven't.
And
but-
so, so we are experts. So whatever you think makes the best character is in fact what makes the best character, and whatever we say is the best character is for once and all the best character. Like no one can even come up and say
Objectively.
my character is the best. We are objectively defining the best character of 90s horror right now.
And if it's not that character, then your character probably
No,
sucks.
Yeah.
okay. I know what mine is.
All right. Are you ready? Ryan?
Definitely no.
It's legitimately easy. It's I don't
Okay,
even understand
okay,
why it's even
do
a
it.
contest.
All right. You ready?
Okay, yeah.
3, 2, 1.
Annie
Ghostface.
What'd you say?
Louis.
All right, we're tied.
say?
Annie.
We're tied. Good. We've never had a tie. Oh shit.
Wait, what's the tie?
Okay.
Annie Wilkes.
Ghostface
You
and
said
Annie
Annie,
Wilkes.
right?
Let me tell you what pushed me over the edge.
Yes, okay.
Because when you said the 90s.
Exactly,
90s
that was for me,
makes
too.
me think
Oh, shit.
Ghostface.
For me too. That's
I don't
because
think-
Annie, I was
yeah.
on the
Alright.
cusp.
Those are
Alright,
great.
Matt,
Yeah, those are
and-
great characters.
Matt,
but
you have to be the
I want to
deciding vote.
say, I think Louis is the best character, but
Yeah.
I
Not
don't
horror
consider it
or
a horror
90s
character. I
horror.
still don't consider it a horror character.
When
Because
you
you guys
think
don't harbor the same sort of dread for life that I do.
when you think 90s plus horror, I just feel like that's what
It's iconic to me.
Ghostface.
All right. Well, Matt, you have to be the deciding vote, and don't just pick
You know I stand alone, but if I had to choose between the two,
Annie Wilkes or Ghostface
Yeah,
for
so-
90s
but
horror.
also-
so the second best.
It's harder to say that Ghostface is one character.
It's fine. He's got to decide.
The
Matt has to
second
break the tie.
best-
Matt has to break the tie.
The second best 90s horror character.
So we're doing A and B.
I'm nervous.
It has to be Annie Wilkes. I'm sorry. I'm sorry, and it disturbs me so much to agree
But-
with the white man, but it just is what it is.
But here's the thing: top 2 horror characters, or top 3, Louis, Ghostface, and Annie Wilkes. So we made it into the top 3. It's pretty fun, cool. We figured it out.
In that order.
Yeah. Yeah, I don't even know if Annie Wilkes is the best, but yeah, she's the best. I mean, she is the best.
It's a
Wait,
contentious
didn't
top
you say
two.
second?
I
you
got
said you're
confused
second,
also.
right?
Yeah, you said
Because you're
second.
saying
after
Louis is the
Louis.
number
Second
one.
after
Oh
Louis.
yeah, Louis is the
Oh,
first.
second after
He said if he
Louis.
had to choose a second
Oh,
after
my
Louis.
bad.
No, I was
I also got
Yeah.
confused.
That was confusing.
I thought you were gonna say second is her, and then first is Ghostface.
Yeah, that's what I thought you were saying.
Oh no,
No,
I'm sorry.
Yeah,
He
you
was-
kind of got me.
You
Yeah.
thought you were doing
That's
a
why I
runner up.
got-
That's why I said,
No,
whoa.
that's what I thought.
Because
No.
I thought I won.
This isn't drama
Yeah.
television. I'm just gonna go and say it.
It's
Okay,
fucked
well,
up.
I'm gonna agree that you're wrong.
Here's the thing.
Yep, I agree.
We're all
Unfortunately.
we're all unsettled by the manic and haphazard way that he presented that, which reminds me of Annie Wilkes.
Yeah, he-
So unsettling because
Got
you
me in the
never
brain.
know. It's so unpredictable. Yeah.
We did it. we figured out the best character in whatever series we happen to be talking about today. Wasn't it great when Matt said that one thing, and then John totally got him with that one joke? Brandon was a little quiet, but he made a few good points. Before we go, I just wanted to thank you for listening and ask if you would rate, review, and subscribe to the podcast wherever you're listening to it. Tell your friends about it, share it on social media, and please join us on our social media accounts, Instagram and Twitter, at Your Favorite Character Sucks, where you can make comments and suggest what series you think we should do next. Thanks again, guys.